Live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we say hi. Thursday, 5:15. Hope you're doing well. Patrick Meagher live from Los Angeles. The big guy, Dustin Swedelson. We've got Jacob back in New York City. Ryan Smith, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Jump in the chat. So let's do this. Let's get the menu on the board, including a potential miss tonight for Denver hosting Oklahoma City, trying to stave off elimination. We'll get to a player that is questionable, but we do start with the hockey to get us going just because that's first up today. 2 games on the ice, of course. At home, rock the red, baby. The Caps are looking to stave off elimination against the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are laying a price, a pretty heavy price on the road, 156 up to 162. $1.62 to win $1 on Carolina on the road, which is wild. They are up 3-1 in the series, and that total is 5.5 even. So right now, again, 160, 5.5 Hurricanes. Capitals later tonight, 6:30, my time, 9:30. Your time on the East Coast. Got Stars, Jets. The Stars are going to be slight dogs at Winnipeg. Winnipeg's a good home team, but the Stars are the better hockey team, and the Stars are going to look to close out the Jets tonight in Winnipeg. So that's the ice. Let's get to the wood as we got just one tonight. Of course, Oklahoma City leads the series against the Nuggets 3-2. Game 6 tonight in the altitude in Colorado. And the number is Oklahoma City 5.5. Let me just take a look here. Yeah, 5.5. It's actually dipped down to 5 at most shops, 216.5, 217 on the total. I'm surprised we haven't seen a little bit of movement Oklahoma City's way because Jamal Murray, Dustin, you just passed it along, a stomach illness. So even if he does play, playing with the flu or some sort of stomach bug is going to be a hindrance, of course. But Jamal Murray looks like he's going to be a game-time decision tonight.
Yeah, not good. Not good when there's not a lot of help on that roster.
Whoa. Your mic is so loud.
Check.
Can we adjust? It was crazy loud. All right, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I would say big issue because Murray's the only guy you expect to help Jokic. We saw in the fourth quarter, he was the only one other than Jokic to get a bucket, and the rest of that roster, the quote-unquote others for Denver, are not helping the best player in the world. Also, Murray's the guy who's come up in elimination games, averaging almost 28 points per game in an elimination contest. So if someone was going to step up and have a big performance, help them force a Game 7, that is the number one guy you're relying on. Now that bumps up. If he were to miss this game, you have to have more shots from Michael Porter Jr. Maybe he'll hit the backboard. That's the best you can hope for these days from MPJ.
I think it's a little surprising. I'm just looking at Circa, and you can find the Circa splits when you become a pro over at VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SERIOUS to get a deal right now. But I'm looking at the Circa splits. Like an hour ago, it was 5.5. They've come down to 5. So
yeah,
Oklahoma City is favored by 5 on the road at Denver. But that number has dropped, which is surprising with the Murray news, of course.
Yeah, I just assumed this was going the other way. You figure Oklahoma City, the way they close things out, the way that they have so much more depth, that second unit came in the beginning of the fourth quarter last game and dominated Denver as they started to slow down. I'm very curious why the number's moving the other way. I would just say for us, I mean, don't you feel like we deserve a Game 7 in this series? It's been one of the better ones we've had. I'd like to see it go the distance.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that because Game 6 dogs since 03 are 10. Game 6 home dogs since 03 are 10-31 straight up, 3-28 against the spread. That's the Denver Nuggets tonight. It doesn't look good. I think the attrition that we've been talking about in the series, I don't know how Jokic gives that fourth quarter. Now, he's a great conditioned athlete. It's almost like when you look at Luka, he'd be fat and he can get tired. Jokic doesn't get tired. That's just his natural build, but he's in great shape. I'll say this. Eventually, the 6-7-man rotation has to catch up to Denver, and they may be buoyed, Oklahoma City, by that fourth quarter where they just come in, take care of business. They're so deep. They're so young. They're so conditioned as well and play such great defense. I think tonight we're going to see Oklahoma City close out this series in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, what else can Jokic do? My man's facing more triple teams than Bonnie Blue these days. I mean, every time he looks up, he's got Chet, he's got Williams, he's got a big body Hartenstein ready to knock him around a little bit. And I know he had 44 points the other night, but you can't just assume that's going to happen again. They're on 1 day of rest in between these games with travel. I understand he's a different type of dude, but he's being asked to do more than anyone we've ever seen. Denver's starting five, they've played 138 more minutes than Oklahoma City's starters during this series. That is a ton more basketball, a ton more action. And now if you're Denver, your hopes lie in the hands that Russell Westbrook can come off the bench and give you a little life. Peyton Watson could step up for you and force a game 7. You're just asking a lot from guys who aren't capable.
Kind of an oxymoron, but when you used to go to the dentist, you used to get a sucker at the end, and it had a big question mark, so you didn't know the flavor. With Michael Porter Jr. and Russell Westbrook, you're going in with two of your key rotation guys every single game with a question mark. If those two play well, then obviously Denver can beat Oklahoma City tonight, but you don't have the questions about Oklahoma City. So, again, I will be laying the price. Yeah. I actually do like the over in the game as well. I know there's some sharp bettors are on the under. I don't care about that. I like the over tonight. If you throw away the anomaly, which was game 4, they scored 179 points. The averages of the other 4 are 232 points, 217, a desperation spot for Denver. So I do like the over there. Go ahead.
I was just going to say -1.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, and then lay it with the game. I just don't see Denver getting there tonight.
Yeah, I don't either. We've got a lot to do as we kind of set the scene. There's Capital One Arena with the Capitals. Again, the Capitals, listen, they won the Eastern Conference this year, a great season there in Washington. There were no expectations. They also got carried by the goal chase with Ovechkin and Gretzky, which ended up being electric. But they're just not as good as Carolina. Carolina's not as good as, obviously, Florida or Toronto. Toronto absolutely puked on themselves last night. Florida looks like they're the class of the East, so we shall see. Carolina tonight, though, a big favorite on the road. I mentioned that because they are just about to get underway. We've got a lot to do. We had the schedule release yesterday. You've got the strength of schedules. I'm going to go through. I went through and picked out 3 teams that stood out to me as far as over-under on their win totals. So we'll go through those 3. I found 3 that I found very much mispriced, so we will do that. But I think we should start here. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. And I talked about this with Shine earlier. Shine, of course, Mad Dog Sports Radio, but he's also working over at VSiN as well with Make It Rain. And I called him out. I called him out on his Knicks. I've been thinking about it a little bit more today. Now, you put in the rundown, are the Knicks in trouble? They shouldn't be. So maybe you could start with the adjusted series price, and then I'll launch into what I have to say about the Knickerbockers here.
Yeah, look, it dropped. They were laying $5 prior to last night's game. They're now -275, and if you think Boston can get it done, it's +225.
Yeah, so you and I, we had Todd Furman on the show yesterday. He thought it was going to be a pick'em tomorrow. We said no. We thought it was going to be 2.5. It's exactly 2.5. It opened 2.5. It is sitting 2.5. And I think that's a fair price. The Knicks are laying 2.5. I will say this. I'm out on this team. I love this team. I loved them last year. I think last night is actually, it's a little bit worse. Mostly you can point to the Celtics and say, well, they showed a lot of fight. No Tatum. Everybody stepped up. They were feisty. Mazzulla was at midcourt. Squash that. We saw the exact same scenario 2 nights ago in Cleveland, in Indiana, who nobody gives an F about outside of Larry freaking Bird. We saw the same team go into Cleveland and get the job done and show some balls. New York had everything set up their way last night, and I thought they were soft. I thought they caved. I don't really think anybody played well on New York's team. When they were in the second half, they were getting pushed around. They were getting out-rebounded. The defensive pressure wasn't there. I think this is a big-time red flag coming out of that game. I don't care if they win the series. I'll be betting on Indiana. Last night, I think the New York Knicks embarrassed themselves.
All right, this is the worst thing we could have started with today. I didn't want to hear you say this. I was ready to have you talk me off the ledge. Now it feels like you're pushing me off the side of the bridge because I'm scared. I'm scared about the Knicks. You're 100% right. They should have put them away. They should have gotten more rest. They shouldn't have allowed Boston and Luke Cornett to dominate them. They had an opportunity, and I thought the fourth quarter or the third quarter when Boston just started attacking Jalen Brunson on the defensive end, you have to wonder where that's been all series for them because they got him to foul out of the game. And once he's out of the game, that offense loses all of its flow. Boston was incredible. Jaylen Brown dominated, a plus 28 on the night. He also defended Brunson, and he limited him offensively. He just decided, I'm going to take over on both ends of the floor. And if we're going to go with killers, and we've called Jalen Brunson a killer all series long, I'm going to put Derek White right a notch below Brunson in terms of being a killer. Now he's going to have more opportunities to show what he can do. That guy has hit so many big shots in the postseason already at age 30, a couple years with Boston. He terrifies me. I don't think the Celtics are going to be scared going into MSG. I think the Knicks find a way to get it done because they have wiggle room here. But the Knicks showed you who they were last night. And that's who they were during the regular season, and it's why we were all trepidatious about backing them in the playoffs.
The Celtics without Tatum all of a sudden become a team to pull for.
Well,
which is the irony. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the fallen star theory where everyone rises up. Everyone wants this. And, I mean, we watched the game together. The ball movement looked better last night without Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to the idea that you have to feed your best player. He had 42 before he went out injured with the popped Achilles the other night in New York, and you kind of ball watch. There was no ball watching. The ball was distributed. Derek White, you'd prefer him be your alpha. He was the alpha last night. Brown is a 3. White is a 2. That's exactly where they sit right now. And they got big performances out of everybody, defensively as well. And if you look at the stats, I didn't think Hart played that well. His stats look good, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Brunson was horrible in the game. It doesn't completely take away from our conversation about him being clutch, but he was terrible. You're not going to see, for the most part, you're not going to see a performance like that out of Jokic. You're not going to see a performance like that out of Curry. So maybe we need to pump the brakes a little bit. It's one game. I can hear you screaming at me. Not just you, everyone. It's one game. It's one game. It's a 25-point loss. It's a 25-point loss without the best player, the second best player in the series on the opposing team. That's not just one game. That's a sign.
It's a phrase you say a lot, character revealer, and we're not talking about their character as human beings. We're talking about their character as a team. Last night was a character revealer for who the Knicks really are deep down. They're not the team with the killer instinct. They're not the team going to put Boston away when they're vulnerable. And Indiana, as you mentioned, did it the other night with Cleveland. On a night where Josh Hart went 5 of 9 from 3. He had 24 points. Mitchell Robinson went 6 of 6 from the free throw line, and they lost by 25. That is not a recipe for success for the Knicks, where those guys are contributing that way, and you aren't even close.
The Knicks were built to be tough. The Indiana Pacers are tough. You never thought about the Pacers as being tough. They were down big in that game 2 nights ago, the Pacers, and came back and just absolutely put on a clinic in the second half. The Knicks were tied at the break at 59s and came out and laid an egg. Go Celtics. I'm not really. No. I have all the respect in the world for John Adams. In fact, I think as a statesman, probably one of the most underrated founding fathers. As the president, he was a disaster. Having said that, I don't care about New England. You can take the tea and you can put it back in the ocean. However, they showed, again, the whole entire culture. It's almost like the Lions with Dan Campbell. The dude that's running the Knicks had an implicit plan. Build a team that can defend on the perimeter, build a team that can shoot 3 around Brunson, and make a tough-ass team. That's not what we saw.
Yeah, and let's also remember, we're assuming they move on here. I am a little scared we're going to go 7, but I do believe the Knicks move on. Indiana's not scared. Indiana went in and won a Game 7 at Madison Square a year ago. They're not scared of this team. They found their rhythm. They're playing better basketball than the Knicks. They've played better basketball than the Knicks for the last few months here. The Knicks have had a lot of things go their way here, and they played well, and they jumped Boston to start the series. Tatum gets hurt. That's why they're going to advance. It's all part of the game. It happened to the Knicks a year ago. But Indiana does things that the Knicks can't keep up with. And that is specifically on offense. The way they run, they can score in spurts. They're consistent on offense, and the Knicks lack consistency on that side of the floor. That terrifies me about Indiana.
So let's open up the conversation today. Well, obviously, Nuggets hosting OKC, predictions there. The big story right now is it looks like Jamal Murray is going to be a game-time decision with an illness. So when I hear illness, then I think, well, if he does play, outside of Michael Jordan, who plays better with the flu? So we'll start there. It's 5 is the number. And then ask the question, the series price. We'll reset it and ask you, just price-wise, who would you take right now to win the Celtic-Knick series? So again, the price on the Knicks is what?
Minus 275, the Celtics plus 225.
So again, you have to lay 275 to win $1. Or if you bet $1, you win 225 on the Celtics. I'm presenting that to you right now. Which one do you take after last night? 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Just getting started. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Clear for 4.
Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on the Chicago Bears this season with Ben Johnson and a rebuilt roster, but there are some really weird stories coming out about Caleb Williams pre-draft and what transpired last year with Caleb and the Chicago Bears. We're going to give you that information coming up in just a bit, but I assure you, you're going to want to stick around. It's pretty freaking weird. As we welcome you back, don't forget you can check out the newsletter, VSiN.com/newsletter, your betting menu for the day. There's free picks in there as well, and it's absolutely free. You sign up with your email address. It costs nothing, VSiN.com/newsletter. Got you back here. Dustin Swedelson on Patrick Meagher, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Just quickly an update on the only game in progress, and that's hockey. The Caps hosting the Canes, and right now 11:55 to go. It's been an under series. It's 0-0. The Hurricanes just killed off a Capital power play, so that's important there. We're asking you about the Knicks and the Celtics, so I'm just telling you, even if you don't bet, you become a bettor. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. You can either lay the 250-ish with the Knicks to win the series, or you can take plus 225 that the next two will be won by the Celtics. Which way do you go? And then coming up tonight, Oklahoma City, who are your favorites to win a championship. It looks like right now it's still 5, which surprises me. It was 5.5 earlier today, and we're getting news that Jamal Murray is questionable with an illness. Looks like it's going to be a game-time decision. Those game-time decisions generally lead to the player playing. But again, if you're talking Murray, you have to try to figure out how mitigated he'll be with some sort of virus that he's dealing with. That's where we sit on a Thursday with sports, my friend. That's where we sit.
Pop a Pepto, get some Imodium, get an IV, Jamal Murray. They need you out there. They can't have Peyton Watson. They can't have Russell Westbrook starting. They just can't do it. The Nuggets can't handle it. On the Celtics Knicks thing, real quick. Teams that trailed 3-1 in a best-of-7 have rallied to win the series 13 out of 295 times. That is 4.4% of the time.
Say it again.
Teams that have trailed 3-1 in a best-of-7 have rallied to win that series 13 times out of 295 tries. That's 4.4%.
All right, so then we have to figure out, is what we saw from the Knicks last night anomalous? I don't really care about the 25-point loss. I care about the fact that they were soft. And I'm using mirrors. I'm using the mirror from the night before of a team they could potentially play in the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals as a team that did the opposite. So I like the fact that I have something to compare last night's performance by the Knicks to.
Yeah, and if we're going to look at who the best player on the floor is, I have questions now. I have a lot of questions about Jalen Brunson because that's a spot where he's supposed to be the dude. That's a spot where he won the Clutch Player Award. It's a clutch situation. You win that game, you advance. You don't have to deal with this anymore. There's nothing hanging over you. There's no more pressure this round with Boston. You got past them. Now it's on to Indiana. Jaylen Brown looked like a man inspired. He also is a guy who had a lot more opportunities. He's put up monster numbers whenever Tatum's out of the lineup. And for whatever reason, the Boston Celtics have a really good record with him out of the lineup. They're now, 58-23 over the last couple of years without Tatum? I mean, that's crazy. They win games without their best player consistently. It shows you the depth. And even more impressive, they did it with Porzingis giving them nothing. Who knows about his availability going forward? But if we're going to look at the next game, I know that Brunson's in the conversation for best player on the floor. Jaylen Brown, with that performance, is creeping in right near him. And then I think the second best player in the series is Derek White, way above Karl Anthony Towns.
Hurricanes on the board first. Not a great look for the Caps, who already trail 3-1 in the series and now trail 1-0 at home. And a potential closeout, a nice little transition goal from the Hurricanes here as we get you going with the hockey. Let's open up the calls. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-STAL with the goal. Beauty, too. 888-623, top shelf, 623-3646 here on VSiN Live. And we'll say hi to our buddy Chad in California, who he lives in California, but he is a Nuggets fan. And do you feel good about tonight?
You know, Patrick, I don't. And let me start by saying this. This is not the team that won a championship a couple years ago, and that's why I've been so, confident in saying that Jokic should have been MVP this year. This team really struggles with depth. We're seeing it right now. I mean, we just fired our coach a month ago. And we just went through a grueling 7-game series against a really good Clippers team. And we've stolen a couple games here against Oklahoma City. And if I'm being honest, this series should be over. I mean, the last 2 games, the Nuggets took over in the third quarter, and we were on our way to victories and then 2 fourth-quarter chokes. And you got to equate that to the lack of depth. I mean, we're basically playing a 6-man rotation. And one of those guys is one of my favorite players of all time. But, I mean, let's be honest, Russell Westbrook is not exactly prime Russell Westbrook. And it's funny because both times the games in Oklahoma City kind of took off, it was after a Russell Westbrook airball. I mean, Game 4 and Game 5, he had a horrendous airball, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, the Thunder start cooking. And, I mean, you just see it. Michael Porter Jr., I know he's dealing with a shoulder injury on his left shoulder. He's been absolutely horrible. I don't know if it's him causing the problems in the locker room. He seems to kind of have the mannerisms to kind of be that guy. I can't, I'm not in there, so I don't know. But overall, we're talking about a Thunder team who is projected in the next 3 or 4 years to kind of dominate in the NBA. And like I said, we should have won this series 4-2, both games. I mean, I thought Game 4 was for sure us. Game 5, I expected us to get blown out. And we're whooping them the whole game, and then we choke. So it's just one of those things where at this point, I just think we've thrown the towel in. I just think we've had
Hold
a
on,
long
I got
season.
questions. I got questions. Because I remember years ago, you and I used to jock Russ when he was running triple doubles. He still has he's a freak because he's still so explosive. He's a dangerous basketball player for the team he's on right now. I think you would agree with that. And then secondly, let me ask you about the Jokic mystique as a guy that loves the Nuggets. That fourth quarter couple nights ago was, I think, maybe the best basketball. Without any help, maybe the best I've seen a person play basketball. Somehow he's single-handedly kept them in this series.
Yeah, so on the Russ thing, I mean, he's still, energetic. He keeps both teams in the game. I mean, it's just what it is. He defends, he locks up, but then he'll make a boneheaded play. And with Jokic, I mean, that shot, I have seen him make that more times than I should have. I mean, that turnaround with 2 seconds on the shot clock, Chet Holmgren, who is like 8 foot tall with his hands in the air, and it just swishes in. I mean, that's ridiculous. But like you said, it's just a fourth quarter like that where the MVP is doing everything he can, coming off of a game before where he was horrible in the fourth quarter, and we couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, Peyton Watson is basically a 6'8" Russell Westbrook. Christian Brown is a good player, but he's no Austin Reeves. I mean, it's just not a good roster, and that's why we got rid of the GM. That's why we got rid of the coach, and we're still sitting here. I mean, we could be talking about Wolves Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals if we didn't have 2 fourth-quarter blowouts or choke jobs, and that's just a lack of depth. I think.
It is, Chad. Good to talk to you. It's really just highlights the brilliance of Jokic, and it's why we said that it's a team that could win a championship when you have an all-time great playing at. Obviously in his prime. No, he's never played better. You can think, I'm 47. It's hard to think of anybody that has played better in the exact moment that he sits right now, but it is just a mismatch as far as roster. That is a terrible basketball team. It's like Golden State without Steph. Golden State getting people, Minnesota really showed you something. They focused last night and beat them. It's not even like, who are you playing? Jimmy Butler is sabotaging the Warriors. He refuses to take shots. And the rest of the roster is the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, and for the Nuggets, look, as someone who has money on Denver to win it all, I biasly watched these last few nights and felt the same thing as Chad, where I said, you know what? Denver blew these leads. It's on them. I'm starting slowly. I'm not all the way there yet. But I think it's equally Denver blew it, and Oklahoma City took it away. Oklahoma City was brilliant with the shots they were hitting, showcasing their depth, the ball movement, and SGA just waiting for the right moment to take over, letting his other teammates do what they need to do, and then when it's time for him to step up and carry them, he did it at the end of the game. I thought they were brilliant in the fourth. I thought Wallace and Wiggins and Caruso off the bench were just tremendous in getting them in that game and taking away a lot of those secondary pieces for Denver defensively, and the Thunder's fresh legs helped them, have an advantage when it mattered most at the end of that game. But I think equally, Denver blew it, but I think the Thunder took it from them.
I'd be gobsmacked if Denver won tonight. They've got Jokic. True. I'd be freaking blown away if they won tonight.
But that is literally the entire handicap is if you believe Denver wins, you believe Nikola Jokic is going to go for, I don't know, 50, 20, and 10. I don't know what is the stat line Jokic needs for them to win this game. It's going to be historic if he has to do that.
Put it this way. If you're betting Denver tonight, bet them to win at plus 160 because they're either going to go nuts and win the basketball game or get blown or get beat by doubles. That's what I would tell you.
And the reason that happens is going to be because, look, I think Oklahoma City's at a point where they're daring Michael Porter Jr. to shoot. I think he's in his head. I know he's injured. That's not an excuse. Everyone's banged up this time of year. But my man's got 3 points in 3 of 5 games this series, less than 3 points. In the last 2 games, identical stat lines, 1 of 7 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3 in each of them. I don't know how Adelman, this kid coaching the team, is going to deploy him, but maybe they try to get him going early, and if he's not shooting well, they pull him. But I don't know who the other options are for the Nuggets. It's a lot of ugly looks for Michael Porter Jr. where he can't knock down anything.
Yeah, the people keep saying Adelman's the coach. Is he from Serbia? Because Jokic is coaching that basketball team. Like, Adelman kind of stands there. If you notice, Jokic respectfully tries to pay attention. Jokic comes out of timeouts and just decides what he wants to do, as he should.
Yeah, look, and the problem for Denver's, too, is they're being forced to make a lot more threes. That's happening this series. They're not really built for that. And Chad said it. This is not the team that won a championship a couple years ago. Bruce Brown is not walking through that door. You know, like, they need depth. They need help. And I see them going out and whimper tonight. I see that fourth quarter getting ugly, Oklahoma City celebrating, and the season ending.
So last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves closed out the Warriors. A goal for the Caps to tie it up at 1.
Oh.
Come on. The boys are buzzing. The barn is buzzing in D.C. Rock that effing red. I'll give you the goal scorer here in a second, but that is a nicely, hey, show some mettle. Do something opposite of the Knicks. Show a little heart. Fight back. You are a professional here, as Ovechkin had a hand in the goal. A little breakaway. Nice, as 5-hole. Never hurt anybody. Hey, listen, Minnesota's going to their second straight Western Conference final. It's a young team. And last night, obviously, Randall was amazing. Randall is turning out to be, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are turning around and saying, look at Karl Anthony Towns was ghost last night, non-existent. And Randall had 29, 8, and 5. He was tremendous. Anthony Edwards had 12 dimes, 22 points, 17 from Gobert. And then on the other side, like I said about no Steph Curry and the importance of a Steph Curry at 37, the leading scorer for the Warriors was Podziemski. Probably not a recipe for success, as Jimmy Butler attempted Podziemski, who nobody knows, had 19 field goal attempts. Jimmy Butler, who guest after guest come on and lecture me about his brilliance, had 11 shot attempts and 17 points. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I fell victim to it. I thought he was going to add something to the Warriors, and he was fine when Steph was there. But you know what? A lot of average players look a lot better when they're on the floor at the same time as Steph Curry.
That's the point.
Because so much attention is drawn to him. The second Steph went away, it's either he doesn't want to, like you're saying, or he's just not capable anymore at this point in his career to take over basketball games. But the fact that you're relying on Jonathan Kuminga, who's banished to the bench for the last few weeks, to carry you offensively when your season's on the line, I mean, it speaks volumes about this roster. It's a bad team. And it just shows the brilliance of Steph, how far he's carried them, these below average players that play alongside of him all the way to this point. And then on Julius Randle, Julius Randle was brilliant. The numbers were absurd in this series. Averaged 25, 6.6, and 7.4 assists per game. They started funneling that offense through him. He looked like a true number 2, playing alongside Ant. And I thought Gobert was very good in the series. He's a guy who gets a lot of criticism from time to time. But I guess I'm trying to pull back on Minnesota a little bit here. Just because, and they split the regular season series with OKC, so I know that they can go toe-to-toe with them. But I'm curious. They beat Golden State without Steph. The Lakers just didn't have the depth. I'm curious what the ceiling is. I want to believe because I like the roster. But I have a feeling OKC after tonight takes care of Minnesota pretty easily in the next round. It goes to the finals.
They'll be huge favorites. Let's be clear. Oklahoma City's going to be a big favorite over Minnesota. I do actually think there's some intrigue. You've got a lot of good players on both teams. Oklahoma City is the better team, but I think there's something to it. But just quickly back to the Warriors. As much as we want to give the Timberwolves credit, I really do think this is a Steph appreciation situation because I can't even fathom as you watch the Draymond Green no longer exists. The idea that you're going to give him the Defensive Player of the Year, thank God he didn't get it. He was terrible, 10 points, 6 boards when you needed him. People were wondering, would Buddy Hield continue to go off? The answer is no. He had 8 points. You know, you're playing Jackson Davis. Kuminga had 26 off the bench, but Kuminga is a losing basketball player.
Yep.
If you watch him, he's just a black hole as far as, like, gets the ball, doesn't give it up, just wants to score, doesn't defend, doesn't help. So, again, it points back to Steph and the brilliance. Steph's the appreciation of Steph Curry will only happen when he's retired for a few years. And people start going, you know what? Have you thought about Steph being a top 10 guy? And then the conversation then starts to roll downhill because he's something, and he's playing close to his prime at 37. The injuries sucks, but he's playing pretty damn close to his prime at 37, which is fascinating.
Yeah, and it just feels like he's got a few more years left. He's got a few more years left where he can be a championship-winning player, but I don't know if they can put the roster around him. I would trade Draymond, by the way. It's time. I don't know who wants him. I don't know who's maybe LeBron. Him and LeBron love each other, but I would move on from Draymond. I think I'd move on from Butler if you can. I would just go for depth around Curry and let him do what he does. But you're right about Kuminga, by the way. Those are empty calories. That's not reality. That is not a guy who's special. The Warriors' record when Jonathan Kuminga plays 20-plus minutes in the playoffs, when he plays 20-plus minutes, they're 0-7. 0-7.
That's why Kerr doesn't want to play him. His hand has been forced to play Kuminga. Kerr knows something. People look at Kuminga and they say he's wildly athletic, but why isn't he playing more? He's not playing more because he just wants to score the basketball and not help the team.
No, they're going to sign and trade him for roster pieces for next year. They'll sign and trade him because that's the only way they can rebuild this roster because they don't have a lot of guys coming back. They're in a tough situation right now, and that's why I think everyone's got to be on the table trade-wise outside of Steph. Buddy Hield, we've seen this. We've seen this at a few different stops. He's fine in spurts, but he's not a guy you rely on if you're trying to win titles.
The two teams that are going to be fascinating there's many because the Giannis piece is always going to linger.
Yeah.
But the two teams that are fascinating as to what they do in the offseason, two teams, one got eliminated last night, one could be eliminated tomorrow. The Celtics and the Warriors, two teams that have been omnipresent as far as the NBA the past decade. There are big decisions to be made on both rosters.
Yeah, and let me add in Milwaukee because I think Milwaukee's about to tear the whole thing down. I think everyone on that roster is about to become available as well. So I think that is a team that could be feeding other potential playoff teams next year. And for Golden State, by the way, let's also acknowledge the Western Conference isn't getting any easier. There's a lot of young up-and-coming teams. Houston's going to be aggressive in the offseason. Dallas has the number 1 pick there in the play-in, and they should get healthier. I know they don't have Luka, but it's still a deep roster. The West isn't getting any easier for the Warriors to figure out when they can win in this window with Steph.
San Antonio is going to be legitimately good next year.
Yes.
So you can go on and on. I agree. Portland played well this year.
Memphis will be back.
Memphis should be back. Yeah, it's going to be fat. You hate to see. Steph's never going to leave Golden State. That I can tell you. He'll just say, "Nah, I'm good." But it stinks. You had in the notes the window closing for Steph. We're just going to miss out on the brilliance of watching him play basketball. That's it. And just think that he's just a three-point shooter is insane. He's got one of the better to-the-basket moves we've seen. So he's great.
Yeah.
He does everything.
I think all time, you pluck Steph, you begin your roster with him. I just think your team becomes a mismatch for any other roster you want to assemble. He's an automatic mismatch because he's live the second he crosses half court. He's ready to score the second he's on that side of the floor, and he can score it from anywhere.
Yeah, he has to work his balls off just to get open.
Yeah.
Because there's only one person the defense keys on, and that's him. Okay, so not until 5:30 my time, 8:30 your time East, do we get Thunder Nuggets. So the only game right now ongoing is Carolina at the Caps. 2:45 to play in the first period. That game is tied at 1. We'll keep you updated with an elimination spot there for the Capitals at home. Let's go to Dallas and the epicenter, seemingly, of sports right now with our buddy Tony. Hi, Tony.
I got to tell you, the epicenter with number 1 draft picks all over the place, young phenoms on the ice and in the baseball diamond. I'm telling you, man, it is the
tremendous.
It is the mecca. I got to tell you, I do want to make a point about the Warriors. Did you happen to hear the namesake today validate his attack on Bill Mott? Did you
what did
happen
he say?
to hear the spot?
No.
Tell me.
He had Randy Moss on, and Randy Moss is his pal when it comes to the horse races. And he asked Randy Moss. He asked him point blank, who made the decision about sovereignty not running? And he said that was 99.9% Bill Mott.
Okay,
And
I stand
said,
corrected.
Bill Mott. I know, and you know what? I was surprised because he then named some other trainers, which I know you would know, but he said, I promise you, this guy, that guy, and he rattled off like 3 or 4, would have made the exact same decision. And he said, and in fact, he talked to some other trainers that said, had we won the Derby, we wouldn't run this week either.
Wow.
So it further expands the argument of the only way to fix this is to create more separation between the races.
Tony, I'm curious. Did Moss give an opinion about Mott's decision not to run sovereignty?
Yes, he stands with the old guard as to because Doggy brought up Nick Zito and how Zito came on the show and told him I would have run him, and he said I understand why I would have run him because he kept saying, the horse is in perfect shape. But he did say, Doggy actually asked him a great question. He said, is this the modern day trainer? Are they going to be more inclined? Now Mott is what, 71, 72?
Correct.
But he said, is a modern day trainer more inclined to not run the horse if they would have won? And he said, yes, because it would be more apprehensive and less geared towards can we win the Triple Crown. They'd be more worried about the longevity and the price of the horse and all that, all the breeding stuff and all that, all the stuff that you know and I know. But
good stuff.
Honestly,
thank you, Tony.
I thought it was very interesting.
No, thank you. I'll have to. I'll have to go back and listen. I appreciate you passing that along. What do you got on the Warriors?
On the Warriors, I don't know if you heard the post game last night with Barkley, and and he was great. He said, one thing about the Warriors, he's like, Father Time is not going to step aside for a year just because you got hurt. He said that threesome next year is going to be older. Steph's going to be older coming off injury. Butler and Draymond are going to be older. And he actually brought up Kuminga. He said Kuminga to me is very interesting because he is the only one on that team. And if you watch, he is the only one on that team that has any real athletic ability that can run up and down and it's explosive. He was like, but the Warriors decided not to extend him when all the other rookies in his class got extended. So he's like, so what do you do with Kuminga? Because you have no size, you can't continue to run Draymond at the 5. He's just not that kind of basketball player anymore. And one other point I wanted to bring up, your boy Jaren Jack from Michigan State and Memphis. I don't think Memphis can run it back. He's due for the Supermax or for the max deal in 27. I would trade him back home to your Pistons. I think Jaren Jackson with the Pistons would be a great fit for next year.
Well, I would agree as a Pistons man. You got a prediction on Thunder Nuggets tonight?
I think it's over tonight.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you, Tony. 888 Mad Dog 680. Yeah, I'll take Jaren Jackson Jr. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
A big that can shoot, that can defend. Inconsistent at times, but yeah, I'll take him. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. So the Steph window closing, and who do you got series-wise? Celtics, Knicks, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
There's no offseason in the NFL, and PFT Live with Mike Florio and Chris Sims is your home for all the latest news and insights from around the league. Listen tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern Time on NBC Sports Radio, Channel 85 in the car, and on the SiriusXM app. And speaking of the app, it's a good job by Jacob. This is pretty cool. So if you're listening, let's say, for example, right now you're listening to us, VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio on the app. If you look at the interface on the app, right next to the name of the show is a telephone like a little picture of a telephone, and you click that, and you can call into the show right now. So Jacob tells me that's a new function on the app. That's pretty damn cool. So again, if you're on the app, whatever show you're listening to on SiriusXM, if they accept calls, you just click the phone on the app, and it'll dial it up, and you're good to go. It's pretty cool. I had no clue that existed.
How about the person who thought of that idea? That's brilliant.
Yeah, I like that. It's tremendous. Technology. Am I right?
But it's one of those deals where it's so simple. You're like, how is that not something explored? Whoever came up with that idea deserves a raise. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, nobody asked me. I would have told them to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's dialed in, and we're good to go. 1-1 first intermission with the Hurricanes and Caps. The Hurricanes looking to eliminate Washington tonight. They got on the goal first, and now it is tied up as the Caps got on the board as well. Stars Jets, 6:30 my time, 9:30 East, with Winnipeg a short favorite there, down 3-1 at home. All right, we've got Josh Applebaum coming up at the top of the hour, Jonathan Von Tobel, and then we're going to do some PGA Championship as well during the program. Let's go to Art here in Los Angeles on VSiN Live. Hi, Art. Welcome.
Hey, boys. Great to be on with you guys on my drive home.
Good to hear from you, Art. What's happening?
Hey, so, Patrick, it's been a while since I've connected with you guys on the show. Prior to the Kentucky Derby, I was listening to the pre-race show, and I was listening. By the way, you guys did an awesome job. That was so cool. So near the end of the show, they brought you on, and, dude, you were standing on business with sovereignty. You were so steadfast. You were so committed. It's almost as if you knew sovereignty was going to win. And lo and behold, he wins. And then I texted Dustin. I'm like, dude, Patrick just nailed it. And he's like, not only did he nail it, he'd, like, put in some superfecta or whatever it was that you guys all cashed in on. So I'm calling to say congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
On that, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
blind squirrel,
cool.
as you know, Art gets a nut every once in a while. So I thank you for that, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, man, I think you're a hell of a lot better than a blind squirrel, Patrick. That's for sure.
Some people would disagree. I'll tell you that, but go ahead.
So, guys, I'm in total agreement with you. I definitely think the Warriors are going to look completely different. The Warriors, the Lakers, and the Celtics, in my opinion, could have a completely different look going into next season. No secret, the Lakers are in search of a big man. My concern, guys, is that there's going to be a Lakers tax, that anytime we try to go after a big guy or a prolific player, there's no GM that's going to be like, all right, man, you fleeced the Mavericks and you guys got Luka. There's definitely going to be a tax, in my opinion. So certainly we're going to go after a big man. Miles Turner is going to be an unrestricted free agent unless we do some type of sign and trade with him. He seems to be the easiest guy to bring on board. I still think that we're going to maybe kick the tires on a Mark Williams, maybe revisit that. I don't think that that's, out of the question. And then as far as the Warriors are concerned, I mean, which direction do they go? I mean, they're like Chuck said last night that Tony and Dallas was talking about earlier. There's no question. They're going to be a year older, and what do? Dunleavy went all in on this trio, bringing in Jimmy Butler. And then the last thing, guys, is the Celtics. I don't know, man. I think the Celtics are going to force a Game 7. Call me crazy. But I think that they've got a lot of decisions to make, too, because I don't know how many aprons there are. Name it, the third, fourth apron. They're going to be up against it with the Caps. So, those three teams for sure I think are going to look a lot different going into next season.
Hey, Art, good to hear from you, and thanks for the kind words. Miles Turner would be great for the Lakers. From Art to Al in White Plains. Alfred, the floor is yours. How are you?
Oh, great to speak to you guys. I would love to have Miles Turner. One of my man crushes.
Would.
I don't think they can work it out. Maybe Clint Capella as a free agent, and revisit Williams. That would be cool. I'd give up Connect for him. I hate to because I think he's got a lot. Connect the Reeves. Connect the dots.
I couldn't connect it off the bench in the playoffs.
But I can't see them. I'd be surprised if they keep them both. I love them both, but we'll see what happens. Two quick things for you. Number one, is Derek White the best number 3 in the league?
He's one of the better
Yeah.
number twos, Al.
Let's go. Let's call him a 3. He's the best 3 in
If
the
he's
league.
a 3,
I had
he's the
Reeves.
best. If he's a 3, he's the best.
I
Yes.
had a Reeves. Reeves and Gordon are the two that come to mind for me. Reeves, mid-sized, Gordon, big guy. But he's the best number 3 guy. And for the Knicks, that's who they got to stop. Jaylen Brown can score 40. You hold White to 15, you win. White starts going for 26, 28, 32, knocking down the threes. The other day I said he's playing like he's becoming as important as Joe Dumars was to the Pistons. That's specifically for you.
Thank you.
And lastly, for us old folks, he's got the same last name as a very similar Celtic. 50 years ago, JoJo White was the number 3 on the Celtics behind Havlicek and Collins. And like Derek White, sometimes he was their number 1, and they won 2 titles. It'd be pretty ironic if this guy found a way to win it. I'm not going to say they probably won't do it, and I don't think they can do it, but
Hey, do you remember? Hey, real quick. Do you remember how Stevens got White?
well, he came out of Colorado and they got him in a trade.
Yeah, but I can't remember who
He
they
was with
traded him for.
He was
I
with
feel
the
like
Spurs. Yeah, it was Josh Richardson and Romeo Langford.
Okay, so they stole Derek White.
Yeah.
And so it may have been he drafted Tatum with the Lakers passed on. That killed me. But it may have been his best trade acquisition under his management, I think.
Oh, it's not even close. Al, thanks. We got to go just because we got a break coming up. But no, if you're calling Derek White a 3 at this point, he is the best 3 in basketball, and it's not really a discussion. I don't think.
Yeah, by the way, there was also a first-round pick in the deal, a first-round swap. And if you remember at the time, Derek White was splitting time with Dejounte Murray in San Antonio. There was a debate of where they were going to go, in which direction. They just had too much depth there. But Derek White's a dog. Derek White, Josh Hart, Bobby Portis. I don't know if my team's winning titles, but that's my big 3.
The big 3, how about the big guy, Patrick Meagher and Josh Applebaum? And a big Celtic guy. He's in a good mood. He's a professional bettor. You can find him over at VSiN, the podcast, an author, and he joins us. It's VSiN
Covering
Live.
the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
It is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Our next guest, you can find his picks when you become a VSiN Pro over at VSiN.com/subscribe. Listen, you're going to get everything, including I got people on hold that said they won by over at VSiN with Samich, the Superfecta. I was lucky enough to call Sovereignty as well. Josh knows I texted him Sovereignty. So we got a little lucky there, and you can get lucky too. You go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS. $19 through August gets you everything. Use that promo code SIRIUS. Now, speaking of August, it's a big month for our next guest because his second book, he is an author. His second book, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook, How to Analyze the Market, Go Contrarian, and Bet Like a Data-Driven Wise Guy, is coming out in August. It's about 3 months from today. Josh Applebaum, VSiN betting analyst. All Systems Go is the podcast. He's our good friend. We like to be friends with people in high places, professionals that are authors, at Josh_insights. Must feel good. I know it was a 3-year process writing the book, and now we're just 3 months out from its release.
Yeah, Patrick and Dustin, great to be with you. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. Dustin was asking some questions in the break, and basically the bullet point answers were: one, it's 200,000 words. It took me 3 years to write. It's about 340 pages. And yeah, it's been pretty amazing. It's crazy to think it's always been this kind of long off thing. I actually started writing it not having a publisher, and I just said, hey, I've accumulated a ton of knowledge working with you, Patrick, and Dustin, and our old buddy Michael Lombardi on the Lombardi line days. And I kind of went from a super analytics only approach to betting to then working at VSiN, learning a few different tricks and, working with old school handicappers, had all this knowledge and information. I said, hey, I've already written one book. I'd like to write another. I started it on my own, just old school Microsoft Word. And I said, even though I don't have a publisher, I feel like I have a lot of information that could be useful down the line. So 3 years later, the Montag Group, Patrick, who you love and I love, hooked me up with Triumph Books. We're 3 months out. I actually submitted all of the edits. So really right now it's just going to the printing press and have this last stretch here. So really excited about it. And I appreciate you guys giving me a shout out.
Well, you can pre-order the book right now on Amazon, so it'll come to you as soon as it's dropped. So go to Amazon, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook. It'll take you right to it. And go ahead and pre-order. Support our friend Josh Applebaum. I do have a question. So Hemingway would, at night, he'd pour a cocktail, and he'd write, and then he would wake up and he would edit sober. Focus can be hard in 2025. The process of writing for you, is that Papa Ritalin, maybe a gummy, or is it just, is there a time during the day where you could focus? Like, what was the process?
Patrick, you know this as well as Dustin. You got to have a combination of uppers and downers to find that equilibrium there. So, no, but all jokes aside, I would just say, if you're passionate about something, like I'm no expert, but like if there's something that you're passionate about, you want to write a book, don't worry about who's going to publish it. Will people like it? Just start writing. You never know where it's going to take you. And then also, I was an English major even before I got into sports betting. I wanted to be a sports writer. It's really weird the way writing flows because I can tell you, Patrick, there are times where like I could just sit down and write for 3 hours. And then there are times where like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by. I don't even want to look at the computer. I don't want to touch the keys. I got nothing in my head to write about. So it's always weird. It's like when you get the urge, when it feels like, hey, I got something to get out of me, just go as hard as you can because there will be weeks where, again, just the thought of writing or rereading a sentence or editing just kind of makes you want to throw up. But luckily there were enough of those, days where things had to get out of me that I was writing that, led obviously up to finishing the book.
Well, I love the background, Josh, just because you're a bettor, right? And you bet on yourself. You didn't have a deal lined up, but you knew you had this book inside of you and you put it out there and it found a home. So from that perspective, I freaking love it. Secondly, it is about sharp betting the NFL, and the NFL schedules did just drop. Just curious if you can give an overview to our audience who maybe doesn't normally dabble when it comes to NFL win totals, what they should be looking for, what they can expect, how they target teams that they want to end up placing a wager on.
Yeah, it's a great question, Dustin. So there's actually a section in the book looking at specifically how to bet win totals. So I actually have an exercise I want to go with you guys in particular about the New England Patriots. I'd love to go game by game and figure out how many wins you think they're going to get, because I have a play on them. But I think just in terms of win totals, like the process of betting win totals, I think is a benefit to you, whether you make a bet or not, whether you win that bet or not. Just thinking through, okay, what happened last year? How did the team change in the offseason? And then doing the research of looking at the team, the schedule. Obviously, schedules just dropped. That's an exercise that's going to benefit you down the road. You may not know it now, but taking the time in May, by the time you get to September when it starts, you at least have a concept of the depth charts, a concept of the schedule. You kind of know how these teams are being valued across the market. Things that I look for, Dustin, number one is just stability versus instability. I think that's the most important thing. Like if you're going to bet a team to go over their win total, I want a returning coach, returning quarterback, a lot of returning starters. If I'm going to bet on a team to go under their win total, ironically enough, like the Patriots last year, they cashed their under 4.5. I want to bet against the rookie coach. I want to bet against the rookie quarterback. I want to bet against a team that has a ton of changes in the offseason, because if you can build on a foundation, you're already kind of above all the other teams. And then I look at, things like just how the betting market is reacting. Like I'm a big proponent of when I can get the bet splits and the line movement for a win total, that can be very, very helpful. Like if your win total opens at 8.5 and it's -110 both sides, give it a month. Now it's 8.5 over -120. That's just a very basic thing that tells me, hey, there was some money that came in, respected money, that forced the odds makers to increase the price on the over. So monitoring the betting market, looking at the nitty gritty of the schedule and all the games, leaning on stability, betting against instability. These are basic factors, but I really like the line movement and the juice, what that tells me across the market, because, public bettors are just going to bet their favorite teams to go over. Wise guys, sharp bettors, they're going to look at, basically how they've projected these teams, the projected spreads, and they're going to bet based on the numbers, not their favoritism.
Well, let me ask you, because you brought up your Patriots. Am I drunk, or the Patriots set at 8.5? And if the Patriots are set at 8.5, no disrespect, does that not feel a little bit heavy on a number?
It does feel a little heavy, and I'm actually, obviously I'm in New England, and all you're hearing about is how great the Patriots are going to be, which scares me. Anytime a team gets hyped up, that's usually as a contrarian bettor when I want to fade the masses in that herd mentality. Now, here's the other thing I forgot to mention. When you're betting win totals, put this right up there with one of the most important things to keep an eye out for: getting the best number, shopping for the best line, having multiple outs, which you talk about all the time, Patrick, which is so important, because to your point, 8.5 is quote unquote the Patriots win total. But let me throw a few more at you. Patrick, sounds like you might be fading all the love for the Patriots. If you want to go 8.5 under, right now at DraftKings, it's -105. You want to go 8.5 over, it's +115 at BetMGM. Caesars is actually 7.5 over -170. Now, I played the Patriots over, but Patrick, I got over 7.5 at FanDuel at -145. So I know that's a little bit juiced up. We don't love paying extra juice, but it just goes to show you that, don't just take everyone's word for it. Oh, 8.5. No, look at literally every single book, because there could be 7.5s, there could be 8.5s, and the juice is a huge, huge thing you got to keep in mind. So if you like the over, you can get 8.5 over -105. You like the under, you can get 8.5, under -105. So you can actually get better prices regardless of which position you like, just by shopping around and getting the best number.
I mean, that right there's the lesson. Is if you're going to bet on these win totals, you've got to bet them now. That's the point. They're going to move by the time these teams report to camp and more news comes out and there's injuries and there's more transactions. And right now I'm looking at strength of schedule. Patriots' third easiest strength of schedule. I am looking at the schedule. I see a lot of wins on there, but you're right, though.
Nine wins?
In my head, I got to the final week of the season, and the number was 8. And I don't know if there's 9. I think there's 8. I don't think there's 9. How would you characterize their offseason, though, with Vrabel coming in, Josh? As a fan of this team, it feels like they were ultra aggressive, and we're not used to seeing this from the Patriots, but do you believe it pays dividends year one? That's the big question.
I hope so, Dustin. I mean, as a Patriots fan and as a bettor, and you mentioned it, you had basically a number of 8 or 9. You're kind of right on that win total. Goes to show how really the fine line and margin of error if you're going to bet these win totals. The other angle here is like I took the 7.5 over. I was willing to pay that -145 juice because to me, that extra couple cents could be the difference between a win or a loss. When you bet win totals and a team lands on 8 or 7 and again, we all want to pay. I want to pay, of course, less juice than everyone. But the whole point being is you could make or break a bet based on 20 cents of juice taking your position. But to your question, Dustin, I mean, number one, to me, the biggest thing of all is just the coaching change. Gerard Mayo, great guy, great New England Patriot, completely in over his head. Kraft promised him the job on a trip to Israel when he had no coaching experience really whatsoever. To me, he was a guy who it was not ready for prime time. Bringing in Vrabel, to me, is a big change. Bringing in McDaniels over Van Pelt. Terrell Williams, we'll see what we get out of him. But to me, the coaching, Drake May going into year 2, they spent a ton of money in the offseason. Carlton Davis as a defensive back to go with Christian Gonzalez, Milton Williams, Harold Landry. And then even though it was kind of like an obvious pick and everyone in New England made fun of the short arm length, I think Will Campbell was a smart pick, 4th overall, because you needed to shore up the left tackle position. So you combine all the money Kraft finally opened his wallet and paid for in the offseason, Drake May going into year 2, a better coaching staff. You mentioned it, Dustin, either the second or third easiest schedule, depending on how people rate schedules. And then there's also a crazy stat like miles traveled. I don't know if you guys saw this tweet, but the Patriots are basically one of the least traveling teams. They're not going, to Europe or anything. Their schedule is pretty easy in a division where, again, the Bills are great, but who knows about the Jets in Miami. I think that's why people like me in New England as a fan are excited. And if you want to go over 7.5 with me at FanDuel, I think that gives you some reason for belief.
Well, the 7.5 is I respect that play. But if you think this is a 9-8 team, good luck.
They've won 4 games back-to-back years. That's a big jump.
Listen, it's a coaching upgrade times a trillion. Would never, but that would be quite a leap. Okay, there's the Patriots. A question for you, Josh. Today is a special day because it's an anniversary. No, not with you and Elise. But it's an anniversary for bettors. Why?
Yeah, it's an anniversary because 7 years ago, actually yesterday at this point, the federal ban on sports betting was overturned. So PASPA. And I would define all bettors pre-PASPA, post-PASPA. I mean, what is it? Before Christ and after Christ, how we do all the times. shout out to JC, our boy.
Yeah, shout out to Jesus Christ.
Not my boy.
Exactly. Well, hey, Dustin, I'm Jewish too, so again, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. But
just a team.
Crazy, just that how things have changed, and again, looking at life as a bettor before May 14th of 2018 versus now, completely just night and day. Like, let's just look at the numbers. There are reports that came out in the year 2024. There was over $150 billion bet legally in America. There was over $14 billion in revenue. So just from the standpoint of an industry that went from nothing illegal, offshore, bookies, Tony Soprano will break your kneecap if you don't pay, to now a legal market that is, again, booming. And obviously there are some issues right now. Like I read a report about how there's all these kids in college who are, betting too much. And, there's always going to be issues like that. But just the standpoint of taking something out of the shadows. Remember Adam Silver? He was one of the first to get out in front of it. He had that New York Times op-ed saying, hey, people are going to smoke pot. They're going to drink beer. They're going to bet on sports. Why not make it legal? Get the tax revenue, regulate it. It seemed like an obvious idea, but PASPA actually 1992 was George H.W. Bush who signed it into law, and really Nevada, Vegas was really the only place you could bet. Now, obviously, it's a booming industry, and I just think as a bettor, yes, I'm an analyst, yes, I'm an author, but I love betting on sports. I love the challenge of it daily. I love the rush of sweating a game, not knowing whether you're going to win or lose. But think of it before, Patrick and Dustin. It was like, you had to, go to Western Union to send money to some offshore book in Curacao, or you had to bet with a bookie. It was really just completely different to today, where I can pop open my app in Massachusetts and I can bet with 7 or 8 different legal books. It's easy. Again, there are negatives. I'm highlighting the positives, but just as a bettor, so much easier, so much better today's world post PASPA versus what we had to deal with before.
Yeah, I mean, the only times I've ever had Curacao involved in my life was watching Andrew Jones play center field and having to load up my illegal online betting account. Those are the two times Curacao was involved. I'm curious, as someone who just knows this market so well, because where's it going? What's the future? Like, I'm curious if there's anything that you see coming down the line, because for a while it was live betting, then it became same game parlays, player props are the rage. I've heard micro betting, which I don't totally understand what it is. Where do you see things going for the betting world?
Well, I think it's hard to say, but there are a couple things, and you hit on, Dustin. Number one, like when I was researching my book, there's a lot of this information that, I would like bookmark a tweet or an article and come back to it. But the thing that you mentioned is micro betting, like that's getting really big, like literally being able to bet the next pitch, whether it's going to be a ball or a strike, or the next play in a football game, will it be a run or a pass? Like, to me, that speaks to kind of our culture, and maybe not in a good way, how people just want the immediacy. They're not willing to sweat a game. I mean, we talked about a futures bet. How many bettors are willing to tie up their bankroll for 6 or 7 months? A lot of people don't want to deal with that. So the in-game betting, the live betting, there was a stat, I think, as well, where live betting has now taken over at least 50% or more of the overall game betting. Like, there's actually more live line betting than pre-flop betting. I would say too, though, you see this all the time, like something gets legalized, everyone's excited. And one thing that I was kind of always wary of is like new people betting for the first time, thinking betting's easy. And obviously they have a rude awakening and figure out, no, it's actually really, really hard to win. So I feel like the people who gave it a shot and maybe, didn't win, had a terrible experience just because they realized, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought. Those people probably quit, but maybe they're coming back to it and saying, okay, I like betting, I like winning, but I got to figure out a way to approach it that's better than what I did before. So I'm hoping that, like, my new book coming out and just the analytics approach and leaning on data, I'm hoping a lot of new people will kind of like focus on that versus, betting with your bias and favoritism. And obviously, to me, I think there's an opening for like one of these books, and they're not going to like it because it's going to cut into their winnings. But like, what if there's a book like South Point, but a national book that's reduced juice? Every bet is minus 105. Like, there are all these legal books that just kill you on the juice, minus 120s, minus 130s. Like, there are books where like one team is +3, minus 120. The other team is +3 or -3, minus 115. Like, if there's a book that, again, they're not going to want to sacrifice their earnings, but give me a reduced juice, just, I think there's an opening for that book. You might take in less money because you're not taking advantage of bettors, but I think that'll build a lot of goodwill. And I think a lot of bettors will now get smart and flock to a book that gives them better juice and better prices.
Yeah, I've been in-game betting since like 06, 07. If I start talking micro betting, I know it's time for me to retire because you guys talking about micro betting just got me exhausted. That's TikTok.
No.
And I don't trifle with it. I mean, life's too short to hang out with losers.
The only way it makes sense is if you're in the stadium, but even then, you're digging deep. You might as well just play.
If you're in the stadium and betting every pitch, go touch some grass. Like, stop. What's next after micro betting?
I don't know. I don't know where we go from there.
We you know what we do? And gambling Twitter has done this, and a lot of the losers that are in this industry have done it. We take something that's good and then we just ruin it.
Yeah,
that's what we do. And there is still even the props. Listen, I understand how prevalent props are, and I've told Dustin this. My eyes glaze over when people want to tell me about their props constantly. Like, the focus for a national audience, and whether it's VSiN or Mad Dog Sports Radio, and this comes from me, and trust me, I know what I'm talking about. The focus is the game. 99% of your audience is focused on the game. Yes, we can send out picks on a sheet that says these are the props, but we need to talk about the games, micro and but the focus is the game. Now, the in-game number is always going to be important because that tells you the story of the game, and in-game betting is very prevalent and popular. However, I'm on my soapbox. I will get off of it. We'll end with yourself. Sorry, Josh. You know I could be opinionated. We'll end with your Celtics, but I don't know. Do you have anything tonight? It's 5. Dustin just texted me Jamal Murray is in. He is going to play with an illness. 217, 216.5 on the total with Thunder at the Nuggets.
So I'm kicking myself a little bit, Patrick, because I was looking at a buy low play on the over. This total actually opened like 219. It got down to, I think, like 216, 215.5. We see Murray now upgrade a probable, as you mentioned. The total is now up to 218. So I kind of missed the boat on buying low and playing that over. But it is notable too, like, this game was, 4.5, 5, and Murray's in, and yet now it's at some books 5.5 to OKC. That's kind of a little bit fishy to me. So we'll see what happens in this one. But again, I think as a better, we're talking about, the philosophy, and you do a great job, Patrick, highlighting the temperament of being a sports bettor. If you miss a number, don't chase it, lay off. I'm excited for Celts Knicks tomorrow if you want to get into that one.
We do. Well, I want to get into it. Dustin's a Knicks fan. You're a Celtics fan. That had to be the most proud of the team you've been in a long time last night.
Yeah, I can say, like, it is just a massive vibe shift in Boston. And Dustin, I want to get your take on the Knicks side here. But I mean, it was sky is falling. I was with you guys last week talking about how they're going to break up the team. Bill Chisholm bought the team. They're not going to pay this exorbitant tax. This could be the last dance with this current group. Obviously, Tatum gets hurt. You're down 3-1. You lose your best player. He's going to be out next year. Sky is falling right off the Celtics. Then a little thing happened. They played actually, I think, better without Tatum, which is kind of crazy to say. Not that they're a better team without Tatum, but look at the way they play. What a much more enjoyable product when you pass the ball. You don't take a million threes. Cornette came out of nowhere to be a huge factor last night. That style of basketball. And also, I think, too, guys, like, it opened up Jaylen Brown not have to defer and just be the man. And maybe he's a lot of people are like, oh, he can only be a Robin to a Batman. But I think that in a way freed up the Celtics. They've always kind of been in their own heads. Obviously, they won the title last year, but they had a lot of issues in the years prior. Remember, they were up, I believe, 2-1 against the Warriors in the finals a couple of years ago. They got down against the Heat 0-3 and almost came back. In a way, the Tatum injury, I feel like it's freed them up. Now the pressure's on New York. No one expects them to win without Tatum. They can play more of, ball movement. Obviously, you saw the results where they, blew them out in the last game. I'm looking at the next game, guys. Right now, the number's 2.5. It's Knicks minus 2.5, but it was 3. And if you look at the juice, it's on the Celtics side. Celtics are plus 2.5, at like minus 115. I'm thinking this thing may get down to 2. And I actually like the bet splits. Like right now at DraftKings, you're getting 62% of bets on the Knicks. At over at Circa in Vegas, they're getting 78% of bets. Public is on the Knicks. The line's coming back to the Celtics. They're a contrarian play, and they're playing with house money. So I like the points. I think we might have a game 7. Dustin, what's the take with Timothy Chalamet and all the people who are going to go to the next game at MSG?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, how do we factor in the emotional spot that Boston was in, right? To win one for Tatum, for those guys to step up. Can that be duplicated? Will it go on the road? Or is that like one gasp of energy there? But look, people don't know this about Patrick. Patrick's like my own personal Tony Robbins, helped me navigate life at times. And one thing he talks to me about is like being genuine, and whatever your identity is, just be true to whatever your identity is. I have concerns about the Knicks, because I thought their identity was that of a tough team that swings. And they did not swing last night. They sat back. They were relaxed because they had wiggle room. And that concerns me, because their identity is changing with the variables around them changing. And that is not the sign of a winning team. That is my concern, Josh. I think this could go 7.
I'm kind of with you there. And if you look at the series price, Dustin, you still have Knicks minus 275. Celtics are plus 225. But again, is a situation where the Knicks tighten up. It's crazy how the pendulum can swing in the postseason. It was all Celtics pressure. Now it flips. It's house money with Boston. All the pressure is on the Knicks. And then you almost see this, like, Patrick, you're a hockey guy, like the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs are up 2-0. Maple Leafs are giving it up. Now it becomes they're chokers, they're choke artists. It's all crumbling down. Once that snowball starts to get going, man, it's hard. And I can just tell you guys, there are a lot of vibes in Boston. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Knicks could win tomorrow and the season's over for Boston. But there's a lot of, don't let us win tonight. Kevin Millar to Dan Shaughnessy. We got Pedro, Schilling, and anything can happen in a game 7. So I like this spot Boston's in when they're kind of, written off versus when they're the super team, 10-point favorites in every game and, expected to roll. I like the position they're in.
the mentalities have shifted. The Knicks were punching up at Big Bad Boston, and now it's the other way around. Somehow Boston's now the underdog story. They're punching up at the Knicks, and the Knicks don't know how to fight that way. That's the concern here. That's the issue, and that's why this game's going to be amazing tomorrow. The energy at MSG is going to be absurd.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Dustin said. I think that I couldn't be, if I was a Knicks fan, I'd be so disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't care they lost. It's how they lost last night. It's and equally be buoyed by what you saw from the Celtics. You don't ever want to disparage a kid that just popped his Achilles, but they were having some fun playing without the ball hog there. they were having some fun. They were having some fun without playing with a dude that can't get around defenders, so he just steps back and takes threes. And by the way, he is an amazing basketball player. That is not taken away from Tatum, but they were out there just balling. They were out there in that flow state you were in when you just sit down and you write 10 pages in 3 hours. And then when Tatum's over there, it's when Elisa's like, you should go sit at the computer and write your book. And you're like, I don't wanna.
That's a great analogy, Patrick.
Yeah,
you
there
hit
you
the nail
go,
on the head
man.
right
Well,
there, man.
We came full circle. I don't wanna. Josh Applebaum, VSiN betting analyst. All Systems Go is the podcast at Josh_insights. All kidding aside, please go pre-order the book. If you're an NFL bettor or looking to bet this NFL season, here's the book for you. The NFL Sharp Betting Playbook, How to Analyze the Market, Go Contrarian, and Bet Like a Data-Driven Wise Guy. And that's available for pre-order right now on Amazon. Josh, thank you. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure. Have a great night.
No, it's always our pleasure. Okay, I can assure you, kid. Thank you. Coming up next, we'll delve more into your Knicks and Josh's Celtics with our buddy Jonathan Von Tobel, VSiN host. He joins us next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, 1-1, Carolina, Washington. Washington actually got the go-ahead goal, and it was reviewed and called back as the Caps were offside. So 1-1 elimination spot for the Caps at home. We shall see as we do welcome you back. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Maher. We're going to bring in our good buddy, Jonathan Von Tobel. Some call him JVT. There was a time where I was told I couldn't call him JVT. It blew my mind. But you can find him at me, JVT, on Twitter. Would you like to watch he and Stormy Bonantoni every day? VSiN. It's called Money Moves.
Money Moves.
Noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time, which I'll say this. That's a schedule. Jonathan?
First off, can I say, okay, there's a couple of things you've hit me here with that I would like to address. The first of which is I don't want to get in trouble. I actually agree with what you're insinuating here. Let's just say I feel like we leave a lot on the cutting room floor. So hopefully my wish will come true closer to football season that maybe we get a little bit more time. Having said that, I'd also like to know who told you can't call me JVT?
Me.
Dustin.
Why?
Because I'm a rule follower, and our bosses at the time, RIP, who are no longer with us, they said, everyone please stop calling him JVT when you introduce him on the air. Introduce him by his full name, Jonathan Von Tobel. And that's what they told me. I relayed the message. Patrick followed the orders that I gave him that I was given by the bosses.
Okay. I mean, I guess I can understand introducing me as not, my full name to let people know who I am. I guess I kind of get that, but you can call me JVT afterward.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm smart. I've been doing this long enough to know that you start with the name and then you go casual during the conversation.
Right, yeah. Why would they have to tell you
But
that?
I would definitely pay more attention to what VSiN's telling me about broadcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's
you learned
do this.
a lot from them. You learned a lot from them.
I know the 6 years have been noble. Let's do this. Let's start with your shirt that you're wearing today.
Yeah, buddy.
You're right. You are wearing, and Dustin should be proud, you are wearing a Captain Clutch as the cereal with Jalen Brunson on the back, which doesn't make a ton of sense because, well, you hate New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, so I will say, I'm a big, I like merch. So, if it's a cool, clever thing, I'll get it. For example, last year, if you guys remember, after the Minnesota Timberwolves won in the Western Conference semifinals, Anthony Edwards, went on television and told Charles Barkley to bring your ass down to Minnesota. So I bought a shirt that said "Bring your ass." Immediately, it was created that day, and I was like, "Oh, I'm buying that. That's great." The problem was it didn't get in until after they were eliminated, so I wore it the next day after they were eliminated, on the air. So it was a good bit, but I like merch. So as much as I hate the Knicks, I think the Cap and Clutch logo and everything like that was clever. So I bought it on the TikTok shop.
Okay, but on the Knicks and their quote unquote.
They're cooked. They're cooked.
Right,
I hope you're ready for this. They're going to lose. They're going to lose the next two games. Yeah, they're going to lose the next two games. They're going to get eliminated. It's going to be hilarious.
JVT, Jonathan Von Tobel. I have done such a 180 in the last 48 hours where I was celebrating going to the finals and losing to OKC, and I was good with it. I'm at a point now where I've convinced myself the 2 wins, complete flukes, just because of Boston. Boston's the better team even without Tatum, and I'm going to be crying in a couple of nights when they lose the Game 7.
I mean, look, I will say this. I mean, you get credit for winning games, and Boston clearly shot themselves in the foot with the way that they performed in those 2 games, especially in clutch. That's why Captain Clutch, when he comes in, does an absolutely tremendous job. Having said that, my favorite statistic so far of this postseason is with this series. The New York Knicks, up 3-2 in the series, have a negative 8.2 net rating. So they have been outscored by 8.2 points every 100 possessions, despite the fact that they are up 3-2 and 1 win away from winning this thing. Look, I say in jest that they're cooked. I would very much stress to anybody, this series is not over. Jaylen Brown, if he gets his head out of his rear end for another game, which he did finally in this last game, is a very formidable player. If you go back to the regular season, in the possessions in which Jason Tatum was not on the floor, They actually, eerily enough, outscored opponents by 8.3 points every 100 possessions. Their net rating in this series so far. They've done a good job without Jason Tatum, and they have the ability still to shoot the hell out of the ball, as you guys witnessed the other day. So this series is not over, and God forbid Kristaps Porzingis finally gets over with whatever mysterious illness has hung around and haunted him for a really long time. He can be a very, very big piece, and at the very least, bringing this to a Game 7 and forcing your team to go to the other Garden and have to win a Game 7 on the road.
Are the Knicks 2.5 favorites tomorrow? Is that the right price?
I think it's somewhat fair. It still says that the Celtics are the slightly better team. Now, I think that it should probably be closer to like 1.5 if we're actually evaluating these two teams, so like based on what the rosters are. Having said that, the spot, elimination game, going back home, coming off of a loss. Teams that are coming off of straight-up losses in the postseason are covering it at about a 64% clip. You're 32, 18-1, somewhere in that range, if you've just bet the straight-up loser ATS the next game. So that has been a very favorable trend. So if that carries over, obviously you're there. So I think that's why you're probably at 2.5. But I think you can make the argument with how, look, we had both home teams hold serve yesterday. Home teams and home court has meant nothing in this postseason. The median result at home is just 1 point. The average home court net rating in this postseason, if it holds, would be the lowest we've seen since 2017. So you could make a case that you shouldn't be giving teams that much for home court. And then here comes a team in the Boston Celtics who have been historically great on the road over the last few years in the postseason. That's, I think, a recipe for a disaster, but I don't think there's like any great edge in taking Boston. Like for our contest on the website, I use Boston plus 2.5, but it's not something that I feel like overtly confident in.
I'm curious what you think of what Boston did late in that game, JVT, because I have a lot of concerns with the way they attacked Jalen Brunson defensively and got him to foul out. Now, the game ended up being out of hand at that point, but I think a big part of that comeback was how they went at Brunson. Do you think that's something they look to do here in Game 6?
Yeah. Like, I put it when we were talking about it today on Money Moves, the way I put it was it's like the Celtics finally realized Jalen Brunson's 5'11". You know what I mean? Like seriously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like the guy's small. You can go after him. And he has such a large load on his plate when it comes to what he has to do on offense that just making him work on defense is really going to help you out. And I'll go back to what we just watched. I thought one of the low-key things the Indiana Pacers did that was brilliant was like, oh, you're going to put your injured players out there? Guess who's going to have to guard us on like every possession? You're injured guys. Guess who's going to get picked up full court almost every possession? You're injured guys. You're going to have to make Isaac Okoro bring the ball up sometimes because we're just going to hound your dudes that aren't 100% healthy. And that really works over the course of a grind of a season and of a set. So like, I'm surprised they didn't really start to do it a lot more, but I think that you should probably start to see that a ton now as you move forward for however long this series lasts.
We're yet to get underway, so let's get your take on tonight's game. A closeout opportunity for Oklahoma City, lane 5, 216.5, 217 on the total. Anything?
Yeah, I like Oklahoma City here. It's not anything strong, but one of the things that I've been harping on with OKC, they have been consistently great in one aspect of their game throughout this series. They have been great on defense. They have done a great job of forcing the Nuggets to not do what they want to do. So, Patrick, I think there's a couple of key statistics that really stick out. The Nuggets led the regular season in frequency of attempts within 4 feet of the basket or shots at the rim, right? Over 35% of their attempts came in the restricted area. In this series, only 26% of their attempts have come within 4 feet of the basket. So, like, they are getting forced right now to shoot perimeter shots. In terms of three-point attempts, per game, they averaged about 31.9. That was dead last in the NBA. They're averaging over 40 in this series. Again, the Thunder are making it impossible to get inside to where they want to go, and I think that has been a brilliant way that this team has defended both Jokic and both this Nuggets team, and I think that's going to be consistent. I think the thing that might burn them here in this game, they're shooting under 30% from three for the postseason from beyond the arc. They're shooting well over 37% at home. If that just doesn't travel, then that'll be a little bit of a problem for them. But Michael Porter Jr. is not healthy. He's averaging 7 and 6 on 28% shooting in this series. Russell Westbrook has turned into a pumpkin. He's averaging like 11, 2, and 3 on 25% shooting. And if those guys aren't going to be productive, I would bank that they aren't. I just think that this is going to be one of those games where you're going to have Jokic play 45 minutes, and he is, and this Nuggets team is not. done very well when he is forced to do those things. They have a losing record in the postseason in his career when he's forced to play over 40 minutes in a game.
Yeah, and we'll add on Jamal Murray has a tummy ache tonight, so that is
he got
another
bubble guts,
issue.
right?
Yeah, he's got issues. He ate some bad Chinese or something the night before. I guess let's just take a moment because maybe you want to appreciate the shot Jokic made the other night, which was just absurd, Joker's wild, or what he's done in the playoffs, in this series. Just take a moment. What have you loved from Nikola Jokic so far?
He's the greatest playoff performer of our generation for sure. I mean, I don't think there's really any question about it. Like you mentioned, the pirouetting three at the top of the key. I don't even think because we're all so focused on the way that he hit that shot. To me, what was so aggravating and both incredible is just his ability. He doesn't get enough credit for the way he draws fouls. Twice in the fourth quarter down the stretch, he gets, I think, both Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, who just kind of put their hands down, and he just swings through real quick, gets a foul, gets to the free throw line, hits all 4 free throws. Like, the guy is brilliant in everything that he does. And even the three-point shot that we're talking about, everything. And what's great about him is he can do it all, right? The games that you need him to play 45 minutes and just score 40 points and help you try to carry through, he does it. The days in which he just, get a triple-double, get everybody involved, spread the ball around, make sure our offense is working, he'll do it. He's been incredible in this postseason. And if it ends short, I don't think we're going to remember it enough, but hopefully we do. And especially, of course, because it comes in a year in which he might not win MVP, in a season in which he definitely deserved to do it.
Looks like we're just getting underway. Thunder Nuggets again. Oklahoma City did close lane 5-ish in that game. Jonathan, a small wager on the Thunder. Last night, Minnesota closes out Golden State. Can we stop with the Jimmy Butler? The concept that guy attempted, 11 shot attempts last night. Do you have a take on what we saw from Jimmy Butler sans Curry?
I think it's disappointing, obviously, like what you're talking about here. I actually thought that Jay Williams put it pretty well. I don't know if you guys saw his little clip from Get Up, but his quote was, I thought this was actually kind of clever, bro, you weren't asked to win the war. You were just asked to hold the line, right? Like, just give us one. Just give us one game.
Please.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys last week, but like one of my favorite mic'd up moments from the postseason was I think it was game 3 because they were in Golden State, but Ant is mic'd up and he's getting guarded by Gary Payton, and he tells Gary Payton, he goes, I know what you guys are trying to do. He's like, you're trying to win a game and make sure you can get to game 6 so Wardell can come back. And Gary Payton starts laughing, and he's like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Like, he admits it to him right there on the court. And, like, if you're going to do that, then you need your second best player, your alleged big piece that you acquired in the offseason, or excuse me, at the trade deadline, to go ahead and do it. And he just wasn't there when he was on the floor and Steph was off the floor. They were very poor in this postseason. I'll pull up the numbers exactly to get it for you. But like they just weren't good, especially on offense. How about this statistic? You ready for this? It's a small sample size, but it gives it for you. Jimmy Butler on the floor, Stephen Curry off the floor in this postseason. The Warriors had a negative 13.7 net rating. They were awful. And that's not what you were brought in for. You were supposed to make us better. You were supposed to be the guy. I'll use a Star Wars reference you guys won't get. You were the chosen one, right? You were supposed to bring balance to the Force. You not throw it in darkness. And then here you are, absolutely screwing it over. Somebody out there gets it.
Is it a Butler? Is it a hating on Butler piece, or is it a Steph appreciation piece?
I think it's a Steph appreciation for sure. I mean, like, he doesn't get enough credit. So, like, I made this reference. I do local radio out here with, I think somebody we all know, Steve Cofield and ESPN Las Vegas. Yep. And I made I admitted that I got into a TikTok argument the other day. I hated myself for it. It was in the comments section. Yeah. But it's gonna make sense. It's gonna make sense. It was a video where it was like, of these 3, who do you cut? And it was LeBron, Steph, and Curry. And my response to the video was, there is absolutely no argument here. You're cutting Kobe without any question whatsoever. And so, like, to the point of appreciation, like, I don't think we appreciate Steph enough. I don't think we should be talking about him as the best point guard. I think we should be talking about him as one of the best ever. And I don't think we do that enough. And you saw it in this series. Like, he goes out, and that offense turns to absolute garbage. They have relied on him every step of the way. And again, going back to his most recent title run, he will not get enough credit for what he did in that postseason, carrying that team all the way through and beating Boston. Guys, they remember in game 4 in Boston, they're on the verge of going down 3-1. And he puts the team on his back. He rips Boston a new one, and instead it's 2-2, and they go on to win that series. I never think Steph gets enough credit. So anything about the Warriors for me, Patrick, will always be a pro Steph Curry thing.
I love Kobe. I'm sorry.
It's not close. It's not close.
I'm sorry. It's not, I don't even. I'm sorry. I just don't think it's a conversation at this point. I don't.
No.
Legitimately don't.
When you factor in what he does, you just mentioned with the Butler stats, but he makes everyone around him better, not by doing anything, by existing.
Yes.
Just by being on the floor, everyone goes up in their rating.
The gravitational force, Dustin, of what he does. Like he's a black hole, but in a good sense.
Yep.
He pulls in everything. You always have to know where he's at. He always makes everybody just a little bit more open just by being out there. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, though, because I'm fascinated by what the Warriors do this offseason. Mike Dunleavy's the GM now there, and they don't have that many rosters, those contracts under what am I trying to say here? Players under contract for next year. The issue right now for them. And Kuminga, Patrick and I were discussing, he is not a winning basketball player. He puts up numbers, but he does not lead to results that win you ball games. Is the window closed for Steph to win a title with 2 years left on his contract in Golden State?
I mean, I don't think so, only because he's still Steph Curry. You know, I think somebody asked me this. I think I did a radio hit today, and somebody kind of asked me the same question. And I would say that if you guarantee me, and you can't, but if you guarantee me that he's healthy and he's going to finish a postseason healthy, I think they're always going to have a chance just because he's Steph Curry. And you're going to, in your existence, as we kind of just talked about, relieve the pressure of anybody else that is on that floor. So I think they do desperately need to go and find, and that's easier said than done, but they need to go and find a secondary offensive valve. Like they need to find somebody who can create their own shot and do it consistently. And again, that is easier said than done. Maybe you find it in the draft. Maybe you acquire somebody in free agency. Maybe you go and try to trade for somebody with whatever you have. You do have a little bit that you can offer to get somebody out there. Again, Butler was supposed to be the guy, but their spacing is not great, and they're heavily reliant on his creation, and I think they desperately need somebody else to go and do that. And if you can do that, and he's going to be healthy, and I still believe in Kerr to an extent, although he had some weird moments in this postseason, including quitting in that Houston game. Remember, was it game 4 or whichever game that was where he willingly quit? Actually, it might have been game 6. And he was just like, we'll do this. We'll be fine. I don't understand some of the things that he did, but still, I think that team's always going to have a shot. But you desperately need, I think, another offensive guy.
Okay, Captain Clutch, we just have about a minute and a half. If the Knicks get past the Celtics, what do you think the series price is with Pacers-Knicks?
So I was texting with Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate Superbook. I told him I thought my price was -140. That was the exact price that he responded with. So Knicks -140 or -150. Yeah, of course. They have home court.
I thought 130 either way. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Just 130 either way.
Yeah, no, -140 Knicks, and probably in that range. Interestingly enough, Jeff said that he anticipated Pacers action, so it's going to be curious to see where the market ends up going. I would lean toward the Pacers, but like I said, if it's -140, I think that's an accurately priced. Just slap on. I think these two teams are equals. Just slap on whatever you price for home court, and then put it up and let the market do what it wants.
All right. Well, get some rest because you got a show tomorrow morning. That is Money Moves. Jonathan Von Tobel and Stormy Bonatoni. Great stuff. Happy to see those two paired together.
She's already leaving for Italy. She's leaving next week. How about that?
Where's she going? Italy?
Yeah, Italy.
What's happening in Italy?
I thought she maybe had a UFL game or something.
Yeah, no, I don't know. She's going to Italy. Dude, we just got the show together. What are we doing?
Well, and she deserves to, but she definitely runs VSiN, so that's good for her. I love Stormy.
That's why I'm attaching myself to the coattails.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. All right, Jonathan, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Great job, man. Okay, we're coming back, VSiN Live. We'll get you updated on the in-game number, Oklahoma City and Denver, and update you on the Caps hosting the Canes. VSiN Live.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yeah, we'll have to get to those details on Caleb Williams and the Bears coming up later in the program. Ooh. And kind of how potentially some drama that I think he's going to be fine with Ben Johnson, but he was not supported. Shane Waldron, I told you, I watched one game of Shane Waldron calling plays, and I was like, ew, that's disgusting, and it sounds like it was not that great behind the scenes. We'll get into that coming up in just a bit as we welcome you back here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Right now, you've got Denver playing well out the gates, and Murray, who was questionable with an illness, actually playing really, really well as Denver leads 18-12, 6:06 to play in the first. We can get an update and an in-game number there, Dustin.
Yeah, OKC now down to -2.5 or -140 on the money line. 225.5 is the total. I still stand by that Oklahoma City is going to find a way here. Think about Denver. The lack of depth, the lack of options, fourth quarter leads blown in back-to-back games now. You can get a short number on the Thunder as Denver fades as the game goes on. This is a golden opportunity right now.
Yeah, no, it is. And Carolina, who had a power play late, just updating you. They, with about 2 seconds to play, I can't remember who it was, but a wrister that looked like it was dead nuts top shelf goes off the crossbar, and then it just careened around and doesn't go in. They actually reviewed it. It was not a goal. So 1-1 at the second intermission with the Hurricanes and Caps.
Yeah, that's wild. By the way, that was the first game in the series where we had a first period over. We'd had nothing but unders up until tonight with that series, Carolina and Washington.
Well, we certainly had second period under because no goals were scored. So that is continues with the theme of that being an under series.
I think it was 3-1 to the over in the second period coming into the game.
So we've had a bit of a reversal. We still have yet the Stars and Jets to come tonight. Winnipeg. What is the number right now? I know Winnipeg's a short favorite at home.
Yeah, the Jets are -135, +114 on the Stars, total 5.5 in that one.
Yeah, I know the Jets have been a great home team. I can't imagine laying $130, $135 against a team that's better than them in the Stars.
Yeah, look, I know the splits say Hellebuck at home is better, but that doesn't mean he's been good at home either. He's just been better than horrible.
And they got outplayed in that Game 7 by the Blues. That keeps sticking with me in an elimination spot. So I'll take the Stars there. Spencer Aguiar is going to join us. Why? He's a golf expert. PGA Championship is upon us. We'll just discuss some golf next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports
Covering
Radio.
the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, every game of the 2025 Major League Baseball season is on SiriusXM, including the hometown announcers on the SiriusXM app. Coming up tonight, 10 East. Listen to the Athletics take on the Dodgers on Sirius 138, XM 180 in the car, and on the SiriusXM app. And for the best baseball talk all season long, listen to Major League Baseball Network Radio, SiriusXM Channel 89 in the car, and on the SiriusXM app, M, I should say. By the way, they told us earlier about the app as we welcome you back here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Really cool new feature on the SiriusXM app. If you're listening to the program right now, right next to the left of the show is going to be a picture of a telephone. If you were to click that telephone, it dials up the program. So any show across SiriusXM that accepts calls, you can now just go straight through the app. No need to go to the phone and try to find the number. Just give it a dot, click it, you're good. All right, it looks like we are good with our buddy Spencer, so let's do this. As the PGA Championship, kind of the oftentimes can be forgotten of the four majors, I would say, because also over the past few years with the adjusting the schedule, but the PGA Championship is upon us, and to discuss it, the sharpest kid I know around talking golf is Spencer Aguiar, Rotoballer Senior PGA Analyst. You can find him on Twitter at @TOffSports. Spencer, we've got that internet cooking in Vegas, so we're good to go. Shout to Cox Cable, which I had when I lived in Henderson, Nevada, a beautiful city with a lot of parks. Spencer, hi. Do you agree with my assessment? Sometimes the PGA can get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, 100% on that. You look at this tournament in general, and it was the last on the schedule, and now all of a sudden they've made it the second tournament. So, I think that's unfortunately what you're going to get here. And you always get PGA Championship courses that are extremely weak in comparison to what you get at the US Open. So it's just the unfortunate truth of what ends up happening and what enters the game with it.
Okay, Spencer, I'm not the biggest golf guy, but help me understand this course. Quail Hollow, North Carolina. I'm told very narrow fairways, and there's a tricky set of holes, 16 through 18, called the Green Mile. What should we know about how this course is going to play out over the weekend?
What we got today was not what a lot of people expected when this started. This is a tournament where Quail Hollow in general, like, you can look at past iterations of it, but it's always a distance course. You want to find distance golfers above anything else. And when we got it today, it played the exact opposite. You look at the leaderboard, there's accuracy golfers from essentially top to bottom on it. And I think a lot of that had to do with just how wet the conditions were. You got really thick rough. And then the one problem, and you hear it from every single big name golfer, Scheffler's talking about it himself, there was almost like a disadvantage to have distance because it was so wet. Mud balls ended up coming into play, and that distance didn't necessarily work on day one. I think when we look at these next 3 days and when this tournament plays out, it's going to go back to typical Quail Hollow. Distance is going to rule all. A hot putter is going to be needed if you want to find success, and you have such a large distribution of shots that come from 200 plus yards. You're going to need to be able to stop these greens, and these greens are going to get very fiery over the next 3 days. So whatever you saw today, get it out of your mind, throw it out the window. This is going to be a different golf course over the next 3 days.
And we'll talk about moving into Friday, of course, into the weekend. PGA Championship. Spencer Aguiar joining us at @TOffSports on Twitter. So the story entering the 2025 PGA Championship, of course, the hype surrounding Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Bryson DeChambeau. And coming out of Thursday's first round, Spencer, none of those names occupy a spot on the first page of the leaderboard. Let's talk about the first page of the leaderboard. You can go through some of the names and maybe update a national audience here that could be casual golf fans and help us understand some names that may be foreign to us.
I don't know if this is a foreign name to most people, but if you want to look for somebody over these next couple days, you can go straight to live with Tyrrell Hatton. I think he's a very interesting target to keep your eye on. And, we talked about this, Patrick, at the Masters when Rory McIlroy in my model, one of the things that I'm always looking for is baseline putting, and I recalculate the leaderboards based off of what the ball striking was. And we had the conversation that Rory should have been in first place. And it just did not happen. And then he ended up pushing himself up the leaderboard over the next 3 days. He wins the green jacket. So that is what I'm trying to find on my model. And, if you're a Rory fan out there, I know Rory did not have a good day today. Unfortunately, the metrics kind of show that across the board. He was an underachiever from what he should have been, 98th place on the leaderboard. He should have been in 60th place, but, we're probably a little bit too far back there. But if you're looking for the option right now, that's the number one projected player in my board. When we recalculate the leaderboard, it's Hatton. So it's going to be interesting to see where Hatton lands over these next couple days. It's always been very fiery personality. The ability has always been there to find high-end success. And, it's one of those out of sight, out of mind things this season with him being on live, but I would not overlook him. And then the rest of the names, like I talked about, it's a lot of shorter hitters there to where I do think you're going to get a recalibration of this leaderboard over the next few days. And, some of those guys, maybe they can stay up there. Some of them are going to end up going in the wrong direction. But, Hatton would probably be the one for me right now if I was considering punching a ticket. You can get him at about 18 to 20 to 1, depending on where you find it. I think that's a number worth considering.
Yeah, I see him third shot on the board over at DraftKings. The thing that jumps out to me, Spencer, when I'm looking at this right now, is Scotty Scheffler, far and away the favorite, plus 330 to win it outright, minus 150 for top 5, minus 340 for top 10. And then after him, it bumps way up to 12 to 1 with Bryson DeChambeau. Do you think that number's right on Scheffler, who finished the day tied for 20th?
No, you're always going to have to pay a little bit when you get on the Scheffler. It was the same problem that came into play at the Masters with Rory. There is such a concern of these guys being able to storm up a leaderboard. I will say this about Scotty. Whatever happens tomorrow, if you recall last year going into the second round of the PGA Championship, he got arrested before he ended up playing that round. So, anything that happens when he enters it, he's going to be in a better head frame with it. But I think the 3 to 1 number is a little outrageous at this point. But that's the built-in tax that you always have to pay on these big name guys.
Okay, so you mentioned Hatton, Spencer. It's anywhere 16, 20 to 1. I like that. Tell us about Vegas, who I think got a birdie late to lead after round 1. He's anywhere between 18 and 20 to 1. Is this a guy after one round that you can see sticking around into the weekend?
Jonathan Vegas is a supremely quality ball striker. You're going to always see that from within the profile. You got that today, plus 1.16 strokes gained off the tee, plus 1.81 strokes gained approach. He ended up absolutely torching it up with the short game, almost 6 strokes when you take the around the green plus putting. It's not that he can't keep it together and he's not going to be able to. And he talked about it. If anybody listened to some of those ESPN interviews afterwards, he talked about he has been trying to build his game for these moments in major championships, and he's trying to peak at the right moments. And he's an older golfer at this point of his career. He's no longer in his 20s, and he's one of these names that he's been around the block quite a few times with it. But, I just will throw this stat out there for whatever it's worth. If you take the last 180 tournaments that have been played from within my model, I was trying to figure out how far back can we go to actually win and what do the numbers look like. And if you just take 7 strokes up and above, so any number that reaches that threshold there, the last 167 of 180 tournaments have had golfers that have been within that total. So 6 under or closer that has ended up winning the tournament. So, in theory, if you're probably outside of that even par, maybe 1 over here, I don't think you can get any deeper than that if you are trying to find names that you can potentially add down the board. But I don't think Vegas is going to win. I don't know if he's necessarily just going to crawl up and go away, but it's one of those things with him to where it's just the ball striking will always be good. What happens now that when we get these quicker green complexes and maybe the flat stick doesn't work as pure as it did today?
Spencer, seeing 2 golfers tied for 29th that are near the top of the board. John Rahm, who's been doing well at Live, 18 to 1 right now. Ludwig Åberg, the kid from Sweden who melted down at the end of the Masters, should have had a better finish than 7th. He's 22 to 1. Would either of those guys intrigue you at those prices at this point?
Rom is interesting. When I take win equity within my model, Rom should be the fourth favorite on the board. Scotty is the deserving favorite, maybe not at those 3.5 to 1 numbers. Bryson would be the second name. Rom would be the fourth name for me. So, I think it's a fine price set. Like, if you want to consider him, he looked great off the tee today, and he has one of those games that fits Quell Hollow of distance and the ability to spike with the putter. So, if you made me pick one of the two, I would take the Rom route over the Oberg stance with it. I liked Rom a lot this week. I thought he was one of the sharper players on the board.
Luke Donald's a name, T4, that he's 4 under. Luke Donald's a name that people will recognize. Should we be bullish on Luke heading forward?
I'm no.
Okay. Now explain, as somebody that just lives and dies this stuff and crunches the numbers, explain that reaction.
I mean, even if you look at it from a statistical perspective, like one of the things I'm always trying to look at, even beyond anything else, is I trust my pre-tournament numbers. So I'm not going to overreact to one day. Even if Luke Donald would have gone out and let's just say hypothetically he gains 5 strokes ball striking and everything went well, like that's fine. It's going to make a little small dent in my model, but it's not going to make this overcorrection to all of a sudden Luke Donald's going to be something that he wasn't pre-event. But even if you look at how he went around this course and how he gained his strokes, he lost 1.12 strokes off the tee. And it kind of goes back to what I talked about at the very beginning of this, to where distance is now going to all of a sudden become more of a prerequisite over the next 3 days. He doesn't have that in his profile. And even from a ball striking standpoint, he lost almost a half stroke in total. He did it all with the putter, gained 5 strokes, second in the field for the day. It's just one of those things to where it's a great story. I would love to see Luke Donald up there on Sunday and give himself a real chance, but I just don't see it in the cards for him.
Is there someone, Spencer, that your numbers are showing just had a bad day today? The results weren't there, but should have performed better, that you think could make a run into a top 5, top 10 type performance at the end of the weekend?
Let me run this right now. I can tell you on the spot of some of the players that were.
Take your time. We want to see. We want to see the magic we want to see as you cook, Spencer. So take your time.
So I don't know if we can get into the top 5 on some of these answers, but the 2 biggest underachievers on the board for me were Shane Lowry and Daniel Berger. Berger was a name that I liked pre-event. I had him in a matchup today against Sergio Garcia, and then Lowry had a profile that he finished in 73rd place. He should have been inside the top 25, and Berger finished in 46th place. He actually should have been in 5th place according to my numbers. So, whether these are top 20 sort of bets, maybe you can push Berger a little bit further up the board. Those were the 2 biggest underachievers that I had on the day.
Real quick, Berger 101 to win outright, 12 to 1 top 5 or top 10, top 5, 5 to 1 top 10.
They're fun prices. It's not an inconceivable thing. Like it's a decent value there.
Wow.
So Spencer, we haven't spoken to you since Rory won the green jacket. Look, you're young, you've been grinding in the golf betting space for a while. I'm 47 years old. Not sure I've been that riveted by theater on a Sunday. That was a hell of a Sunday as far as Masters is concerned. It was just some of the best theater sports could provide. It was awesome.
It was one of the best rounds of golf and days of golf and you saw it running rampant through Twitter and everybody discussing the theatrics of it. And I got a little bit of exposure to Rory heading into Sunday there. My model thought he should have been about minus 270, and which is a really, really high number compared to most numbers that you would have seen there. He was about 190 to win the event. So I had a pretty substantial edge. Did not like Bryson going into that day from a statistical perspective. It felt like he was going to go in the wrong direction. And then all of a sudden the day starts and everything that could have gone wrong for Rory seemed to go wrong. And Bryson got off to this really quick start. And I ended up double dipping and adding a little bit more to Rory there. So it was a nice financial finish for me. So obviously I had a stake in wanting Rory to win from that. But even if you didn't have any stake in the outcome of it, I mean, if you were a golf fan or not even a golf fan, I can't imagine how anybody could have walked away from that moment and not wanted to have watched more golf into the future. That's everything that you dream about. It's the biggest stage in golf. It's the biggest moment of Rory going for the career Grand Slam. And Rory looked human. And when you look human on a professional athletic stage, it sticks with fans, and fans start getting behind you. And people like Rory, and people wanted Rory to win before it, but it even added more to the theatrics of it. It wasn't this robotic finish to where, Rory put himself in a position that this was just a runaway. This was a real life situation that Rory had to find out how to hold on, find out how he was going to put the pieces together. And I think everybody saw that he was walking down 18 when we were still in regulation. And I turned to my girlfriend at the time and I said, he looks like he's about to puke right now. And, he got himself through the moment. He didn't necessarily close the hole the way that he needed. He missed the putt, but got himself in the playoff, clutched up once again. And for all the bad shots that he hit on that day, he has some of the most memorable moments that I can recall. I mean, some of those approach shots heading into some of those greens, just spectacular. They will go down in history books of those will be the highlight reels. And the story will be that it got close, but the story will always be that Rory clutched up when he needed to.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer, I don't care about golf. That was the most I've ever cared about golf, and it was a roller coaster of emotions. I've never cared so much about one guy having his moment, and based on everything I know about Rory McIlroy, is he did it his way. That's the way Rory was always going to do it. I'm curious, though, with you as someone who has these numbers, has your algorithm, what's it like balancing the human element with your numbers in a situation like that where you wanted Rory, you came on the show, you said that you thought Rory should be up by a lot and had that meltdown after day one, but what's it like dealing with the human side, impacting your numbers?
That's the really difficult part to try to maneuver through. One of the first times that I ever went on a podcast, I would like to think that I coined this term, but I mean, I'm sure other people have said it, but we talk about win equity in spots. There's almost the reverse of that answer where there's choke equity. And that's kind of the hidden variable that is really hard to try to maneuver through, because there is that human element, as you just talked about, Dustin, to where from a statistical perspective, I can run all the numbers. I can tell you what a guy is supposed to do based off of the course fit and his form and the way that his statistics look. I can't tell you what happened to the guy the night before. I can't tell you what's happening in the guy's head. And this is for any sport. Golf is one of those difficult sports where it's one versus everybody, but you're out there by yourself with the caddy. So, you have team sports and a lot of that choke equity can still come into play. But in golf, you're the one that's standing over the ball hitting a shot. And I can tell you how I think you should hit the shot. I can tell you what my model believes you will do hitting the shot. I can't tell you what will actually happen. We could run these tournaments a million times. Do I expect Rory to mishit a ball into the water on one of the par fives and double bogey a hole out of nowhere? Like, no, like you would expect better than that. But that's why we love sports. That's the human element of it. And it's what I always say, like, no matter how big of an edge that you think you have from a gambling perspective on it, you always still have that human element that comes into play. And sometimes you're on the run good of it, and sometimes you're on the run bad of it.
Do you Charlotte, North Carolina, Quail Hollow? We've seen it before. Do you like the course? Do you like what it leads to as far as the type of golf? And is it worthy hosting a major?
It's a very one-dimensional course. One-dimensional meaning it's a distance-heavy course that I think we're going to see come into play over the next 3 days. It's a very putter-heavy course. There's very few courses on tour that have such an uptick in my model when we look at strokes gained dispersion of the golfers who end up winning. Nearly 45% of the strokes, whether that's through a PGA championship that was held here in 2017 or just a weekly or yearly tournament that's held at the Wells Fargo when Quail Hollow hosts it, 45% of the strokes come with the putter in hand. That is not the events that I typically love, where it's this, hit the ball far, bomb and gouge, make some putts, and then kind of circles back to the answer that I said, that you get this uneven distribution from 200 plus yards to where 41% of shots come from 200 plus yards. I think it leads you to a very specific skill set. I don't know if it necessarily leads you to the golfer that's playing best in that moment. It leads you to the golfer that can hit the ball the furthest and the straightest, make putts, and control their irons from 200 plus yards. I would rather have a complete game to tell me who should win the golf tournament, not a 3-set skill that we're kind of just trying to figure out which one of the top elite guys or the guys fits that criteria.
And then you're going to play a few matchups from here on out with some adjusted numbers out there. What are we going to do with Keith Mitchell on the board?
My model really liked Keith Mitchell heading into this tournament. And one of the things that I always like to run throughout the week, it's kind of just sharp versus square numbers. I have all my head-to-head ranks and all my grades and where I think matchups should be. What I like to do, though, is I like to see where matchups move throughout the space. And I like to run some of the sharp versus square returns to see where are we getting some of these higher or lower spots with it. And Keith Mitchell ended up being the sharpest mover this entire week. And you see it within my model from the way that it graded him. You get a spot here. We talk about course history and guys who find success. That is Max Homa. I don't think Max Homa is quite where he was. I know people want to say he's turned it around recently, but I really like Keith Mitchell tomorrow. You can find him out there at -115. I thought that price should have been closer into the -150s. So nearly a 35-point advantage there on that one. And then I'll very quickly give you another one. It doesn't have quite the same amount of an edge on it, but I do really like Corey Connors tomorrow. There's a couple different ways that you can consider playing Corey Connors. I like doing it against Sepp Straka. That's another matchup that's 115 out there. I thought the market was too high on Straka coming into the week for what his skill set was. It's a really nice course for Corey Connors. And if we talk about golfers that my model believes is going to make a run over the next 3 days, maybe more so than we saw on day one, Connors was one of those names. He should have been inside of the top 35 for me. He still grades as a top 10 head-to-head candidate. And a lot of the numbers just across the board really like him. So, I talked about the Berger and Lowry positions of potentially they make a run, but Corey Connors is showing a lot of that same equity that can work his way up into the top 20 too.
Okay, so for those of you just listening on SiriusXM and not watching at VSiN Live on YouTube, you didn't get to see Spencer Aguiar legitimately grinding his model while doing the spot. He's entering the data, he's getting the data, and he lives and dies by the data. Does your girlfriend get jealous of golf?
No, she's very supportive. I think in any relationship and for any guy, like having a support system and somebody that sticks behind you through everything, it makes you better at what you do. And she definitely makes me better at what I do. So she's the opposite of that. She is as calm, cool, collected, and is my number one supporter when it comes to everything.
Well, I hope she heard that. That's a nice little cosign for Jordy. Good job by you. Spencer Aguiar, Roto Baller, senior PGA analyst at Tee Off Sports on Twitter. Great stuff, Spencer. We'll talk to you before the U.S. Open as well. Thank you.
I look forward to it. Thank you once again for having me on.
You got it, buddy. Thank you very much. Spencer Aguiar, who is a good kid, young, a grinder. He is one of the best when it comes to the golf, so we appreciate him. We've got a tie ball game in Denver, 37-37. So Denver was up big to start, but Oklahoma City's starting to wear them down here. So we'll keep you updated, get you the in-game number when we return. And just quickly an update, Hurricanes and Caps got 2 goals in the first. They've got nothing all the way down to 9:59 to play in the third. Still tied at 1-1. Carolina looking to close out that series. We'll come back and set up the Stars and Jets. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Oklahoma City turning up the defensive intensity, steals all over the place. They now lead by 4, 45-41. They were down big early in this game, but again, you just don't have much depth from Denver, so they start to wear down, and Oklahoma City can just throw lines at you one after another. As there's a miss from Murray. Murray looks like he's slowing down after a very hot start. Again, he did come into this as a game-time decision. There's Jalen Williams straight to the rack. It looked like a foul. He didn't get called, so still 4-point lead for Oklahoma City. But Murray, who was a game-time decision coming into it, started off really well. We'll see with the illness if he can keep it up. So that's the update there. Maybe we can get an updated in-game number as it's 45-43 Oklahoma City.
OKC back up to a 5.5-point favorite. 225.5 is the total. We said bet them on the money line when it was about -120 when Denver was leading the way in this one. Now you got to lay 5.5 again. But the one thing I would note, Jokic hasn't done anything yet. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He just had a turnover where he looked tired, like he didn't want to run back on defense. I'm curious. I don't think he's a give-up guy, but I'm just questioning the energy he has at this moment in the game.
Yeah, he'll find a second, third, fourth, fifth win, whatever it takes. But it's just, does he have enough with his teammates to back him up? That is the question. We are 5:52 to play in the third in Washington. Rock the Red. So Washington looking to stave off elimination. They're tied up at 1s with the Hurricanes. And again, we have the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets starting. They're calling the puck drop at 6:40, so 9 minutes from now. We'll see if that actually holds true. The network's, of course, trying to clear out the Hurricanes and Caps. The Stars are plus 115 right now. The Jets are minus $1.35. You got 5.5 on the total, 110 up and down. Okay, let's transition to the NFL. A lot of conversation, obviously, surrounding the official schedule release yesterday. But the big news, and I'll let you start this off, the big news is a lot of people talking about Caleb Williams, the fact that he sought to avoid the Bears pre-draft. His dad may have been involved. There's a new book coming out about it and a lot of juicy details.
Yeah, it's a Seth Wickersham book, American Kings, a biography of the quarterback, where he gets a lot of access to, I believe, John Elway, Peyton Manning, a lot of quarterbacks that he speaks to about their stories and situations. And there were a bunch of pieces that came out about Caleb Williams today, so we should kind of go one by one with them, and then we'll finish with the most controversial of all of them. So the first one is Caleb Williams' father. Heavily involved in this whole thing, his draft process, how it was going to play out. And according to the story in the book, Caleb Williams and his father almost pulled a John Elway because his dad said to Seth Wickersham, quote, "Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die. I don't want my son playing for the Bears." Carl Williams even spoke with Archie Manning, who helped Eli control his destiny, going from the Chargers to the Giants. And at one point, Caleb Williams' father met with labor lawyers and agents and considered whether his son could sign with the UFL and become an unrestricted NFL free agent in 2025 and be able to pick his own team.
Yeah, that obviously wasn't going to happen. His dad sounds like a donk. Obviously concerned about his son, but he was never going to go play for a Fugazi league and waste a year of his prime, and a shoe being the number 1 overall pick. That is, yeah, Chicago is a place where quarterbacks go to die, Carl Williams said, but your son can rewrite that legacy, and I think they made the right decision. What else was said?
All right, some additional pieces here. Carl Williams told Wickersham, quote, "The rookie cap is just unconstitutional. The CBA is the worst piece of S I've ever read. It's the worst in sports history." So that closes that portion of the conversation. He then went on to where he wanted to go besides Chicago, with the Bears having the number 1 overall pick. Williams reportedly desired a trade to the Minnesota Vikings because he and Kevin O'Connell hit it off in meetings and workouts, but he changed his mind after touring the Bears facility, went back to his father and said, quote, "I can do it for this team. I'm going to go to the Bears."
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, you've got a guy up there and O'Connell that can work with a quarterback, and quarterbacks want to play indoors. Nobody wants to play in Chicago out in the cold. It's going to kill your numbers.
No, and that's part of the reason why they haven't had those high-flying offenses like some of the other teams have had. But here's the big piece that has kind of made the rounds over, like, I don't know, the last 8 hours or so. The book also sheds light on his rookie season for Caleb Williams with Matt Eberflus at head coach, Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator. They were fired and the Bears lost 10 straight games. The intel on this is Williams said he would watch film alone with no instruction or guidance from the coaches. Quote, "No one tells me what to watch," he told his dad. "I just turn it on," which is damning. And you have to consider, if that is true, he's going to be coached up by Ben Johnson. That is the greatest Mulligan rookie season of all time.
So I just turn it on. They don't give him bullet points. They don't give him, hey, we need to focus on this. They don't give him teaching moments. They do not. Waldron, did he end up getting another job? That guy, as an offensive coordinator, was gosh awful. I think it was maybe the Bears at the Texans. That was a game early in the year that I focused on. It was a primetime game. And I'm watching the game, and you can have half a brain, have watched football for a year, and you're watching it, and you're like, well, this kid stands no chance. They don't have an offensive line, and the play calling was nonsensical, and that was Waldron.
Yeah, he got murdered. Waldron is currently the pass game quarterback for the Jaguars. And look, the Bears, he was sacked a ton last year. I think second it was first in the league. Then C.J. Stroud was second, I believe, last season. He didn't have a chance to drop back and make any plays, but they clearly didn't design anything to getting him acclimated to the NFL. Where you look at the number 2 pick, our guy Jaden Daniels, and granted, he's like more than just a system, but the system was in place for him to get used to NFL speed and let it get trickier and trickier over time. Caleb Williams just didn't have a QB-friendly play calling system going on in his rookie season in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury obviously is a tremendous coordinator. He's just not a head coach, and that was proven with Jaden Daniels. They kept Kingsbury around. My assumption is after this year, I know Jaden Daniels is going to have a great year, bar injury. The roster has only gotten better. Jaden Daniels is, I've said it, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. It's not like
he's going to win MVP this year.
You just watch him. I'm not sure how many quarterbacks they take above him. I mean, obviously you take Allen. Obviously you take Burrow. Obviously you take Jackson. Obviously you take Mahomes. But then the obviously start to get not so obvious.
No, you're only taking
Jaden
quarterbacks.
Daniels.
Yeah, you're only taking the ones that are already in the Hall of Fame right now. That's it. Everyone else is a question mark. But about the Bears, win total 8.5, longest shot to win the North at plus 425. And according to the schedule makers, they have the second hardest schedule behind the Giants. But
yeah, let's go through some of these. Let's go through some of these strength of schedules, because the Giants, who maybe I've been starting to hear some buzz that the Giants might be surprised. No, they're not going to be surprisingly good.
No, I think
it's an impossibility. They don't have unless Jackson Dart ends up being Jaden Daniels, they've got nothing.
No. This is not possible.
They got Malik Neighbors.
My question is, does Roger Goodell want Brian Daboll to get fired? Because the schedule indicates he does. That's what I'm looking at with the Giants. They're going to start 0-4. Out of the chute. Out of 4. 0-4. Horrible.
We should talk about how they come up. Like, let's go through some of these strength of the schedules. And first, let's talk about how we come to this.
Yeah, basically what they do is they go through everyone's schedule from a year ago. They take the opponent winning percentage from last season, and they calculate who has the toughest road for this year based on what these teams did last year. So obviously there's some issues with it where some teams either over or underachieve, but the thought is, you get the median there and all things end up being equal. As it stands right now, your hardest schedules in the NFL, that would be the Giants, number 1 hardest. The Bears are second hardest. Your Lions tied with the Bears. Then it's the Super Bowl champ Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys making up your 5 hardest schedules for 2025.
Uh-oh. It looks like with under a minute to play, is that true? Oh, $1:59 to play, and Hurricanes have taken the lead. The Canes up 2-1, a minute 52 to play. So they're on the verge of eliminating the Washington Capitals unless the Capitals – now, they do pull the goalie. Thompson's out. So the Caps pull the goalie. They're down 1, empty net here. with a $1:37 to play, trying to stave off elimination.
Wow.
The nation's capital has gone quiet.
It's over. It's over. Turn out the lights. Fun season, but not a postseason team.
Well, they're going to have a man advantage for about a minute 30 here. Let's see if they can pull off some magic and force overtime at the very least. I don't believe we've dropped the puck in Winnipeg with the whiteout. We have not. They're going to hold off another $1:37 and see if they can stretch it with the networks. But Winnipeg, first off, it's just cool to watch a playoff game with that much excitement up in Winnipeg, where that's all that matters to them. They'll have the whiteout going, but we do have $1.37 here, empty net, Carolina, Washington. Carolina just scored 20 seconds ago to make it 2-1 and already lead 3-1 in the series. All right, anything stand out as far as those strength of schedules you want to highlight?
Yeah, so I gave you the 5 toughest. I'll give you the 5 easiest strength of schedules. And interesting that the easiest strength of schedule is the San Francisco 49ers. So they're in a situation coming off all the injuries a year ago where a lot of us are questioning the Niners' window to win a Super Bowl. It's definitely closing because they're going to pay Brock Purdy, where I think you and I believe that might be a mistake for the organization. They do have a chance this year, though, with an advantageous schedule, as they have the easiest one in all of football. Coming up next, second easiest is the New Orleans Saints. That doesn't matter. They're going to get their asses kicked every single week. The third easiest is the New England Patriots. Fourth is the Titans. And fifth, the Carolina Panthers.
Okay. So outside of San Francisco, a lot of that checks. It's funny. I think Vrabel carries a lot of sway with people that bet, and I think people that follow the sport of football. But the concept that they're all of a sudden having a win total set at 8.5. Listen, I understand that division isn't very good because of the Jets and Dolphins, but 9 wins out of the Patriots, again, I would caution bettors to go 9. And there's an empty netter for Carolina, so they're going to go on to advance and await the winner of the Florida-Toronto series, as they got the empty net with 26 seconds to go. They lead 3-1, 3-1 in the series, about to be 4-1, and it's a wrap. The Capitals a great year, Ovi with the goal chase and winning the East, but it's over. It's over.
Also, your boy Mike Vrabel was doing push-pull shtick to go viral the other day. I'm not sure if you saw it, but literally grabbed like Milton Williams or a player, was like, here, I'm going to push you. Can you stop me? I'm going to pull you. Can you go with me? Like, it was very clearly like some sort of leadership message that he knew he was being filmed, and he knew it would make the rounds on social media.
Yeah, I'm not buying the Vrabel shtick, so I'll just say that.
You never have.
Never have. People are so easily swayed. Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler's cool, so he must be a great basketball player. Jimmy Butler's
coffee.
A dick.
Yes. He likes coffee, though, so that makes him interesting.
What was that? I never even understood. So he made coffee?
Yeah, he got his own coffee brand. I think it was in the bubble that he started being obsessed with coffee or something like that. And next thing you know, he had his own coffee brand. I've never seen it anywhere, but apparently he has one.
All right. Congratulations. Maybe he should have some coffee before the first game of the year so he can get some shots up.
I mean,
a little energy.
If I'm Golden State, I don't bring him back. If I'm Golden State, I'm going, you know what?
You don't want that. You don't want that mess.
I'll take anything. Anyone offers us anything for Jimmy Butler, we'll ship him wherever, because there was a lot of issues with him having to approve a trade out of Miami. I don't believe he has a no trade. I think that was just him being petulant and claiming he was going to sit out. I'm Golden State. I go, you know what? Let him be someone else's headache and worry about this. I'll take a seventh guy off the bench.
Yeah, you don't want that mess. You don't want the Butler mess. Hey, let the problem that is Jimmy Butler be somebody else's problem, especially at his age.
You said it when the trade happened. There's an expiration date everywhere he goes. It just so happened in Golden State, it was a lot quicker than the others.
Yeah, the expiration date is, look, it's been dramatic everywhere. Now, Butler, like any narcissist, will tell you he'll always have a reason why it didn't work out with Chicago, it didn't work out with Minnesota, it didn't work out with the 76ers, didn't work out with Miami, and potentially why it doesn't work out the worst. And he's a very smart guy, and he's very convincing. So he'll have a great story about how he got wronged. But you just believe people when they show you who they are. And he is, I believe, was brought in and he gave the right quotes about being the Batman to Steph Curry's Robin, or Robin to his Batman, whatever the hell that analogy is. He gave all the right quotes, but then when Steph went down, I think he said, hey, you guys brought me in and asked me to play a role, so I'm just going to continue to play the role and prove my point, because he's stubborn.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He took 11 shots. Podzinski had 19 or 18 shots.
Yeah.
That is completely unacceptable for a guy that is jocked as a potential Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but I mean, consistently everywhere he goes, there's a problem, and Jimmy always says Jimmy's not the problem. I mean, that's the problem with Jimmy Butler, is it's everyone else's fault. It's never his. Had he just, I don't know, actually played, instead of being selfish in life, played selfish basketball and shot the ball more, maybe the Warriors get Steph back and they get to play a game 6.
I believe it was a 11-point lead, but the Nuggets a 7-0 run over the last minutes. The Nuggets playing better, and they trail by 5. 58-53, 55 seconds to go in the second.
This game has vibes of coming down to the wire and being dramatic like the last few have been. In-game number, Oklahoma City's laying 5.5, 239.5 the total's up to. -195 on the money line with Thunder, +150 with Denver.
Yeah, I think this game has vibes of maybe a competitive third, and then Denver just
Fades.
running out of gas.
Yeah, like I'm going to get on Friday, go to the barber and get a fade. That's what Denver's got in their future. They're going to fade
There you
fast.
go. Exactly the same thing. I would agree. When we return, we'll update you on that in-game number. We're going to get the puck dropped in Winnipeg, and we'll close tabs. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Remember the amazing people over at VSiN. I got to say that. The people over at VSiN, of course, you can go to vsin.com/subscribe. Nah, I'm just playing. They are great. Great handicappers, too. On point. And you can get the picks every single day. Dustin's competing with them. Just a bunch of just a bunch of handicappers making plays. vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS. I encourage you. Seriously, the picks for the Preakness are going to be there. The baseball picks every day. Hockey, basketball. We've got you covered. Golf. vsin.com/subscribe. Promo code SIRIUS. And we've got you covered. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Winner go home. Stay home, I should say, for the Jets as they're about to get underway in Winnipeg. Dallas seeking their third straight conference final. So we'll see if Dallas can close them out. They actually did close as a short dog in that one, maybe plus 115-ish, somewhere in there. Lou Dort hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to head to the break with the Thunder up 61-58. We're going to get to closing tabs here. I rent, as you know, because who buys? I mean, what are you doing? It's like my sister just called me the other day and she said, I got my first lease. I leased a car, Patrick, and I got to be honest with you. I like this. I don't feel committed to something. It didn't depreciate. I can give it back in 3 years. I'm like, yeah.
Sounds like you.
Yeah, welcome. Like you're renting life. You're going to go buy a car and just watch it lose value. Anyway, I live in a place here by the beach, and there's a lot of action. There's a lot of activity. Mm-hmm. And when I noticed, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I moved here from Vegas, immediately, my dog, who I've had forever, she started acting odd in the place. Like, acting really weird. Like, I'm like spooked.
Like you thought there was ghosts, right? Didn't you think there was ghosts or something?
Yeah, you nailed it. Good memory. So she's spooked out. Like, legitimately will just find her off in another room, and I'll go to look for her, and she'll just be staring at a wall.
No, I buy that dogs and young children see ghosts. I totally buy this.
First off, I have a very feminine dog. All right, she's very sensitive, so it's been a bit of a battle with me. But we're cool, and I go find her. I'd be like, where is Jeezy? And Jeezy would be staring at a wall. Never a great feeling because you say, well, maybe don't stare at the wall and come, the game's on. So somebody that I really care about, somebody that cares about that type of stuff, told me you got to get a person that talks to the spirits.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna admit my parents, if they're listening, are gonna kill me. They went to a pet psychic for their dog. I swear to God, it's a thing.
Well, I don't know if it's a pet psychic, but my man actually talks to the spirits. And I had oh, yeah. I'm not going to give out names, but I did have a conversation today. And he said, your place is loaded with dead people.
Whoa.
And you know what? Jeezy sees dead people. So he was like, oh, yeah. That used to be a burial ground. Where you live, they used to bury Shorty. They used to kill the kids and put them under the kitchen sink.
Oh, so it's not even like it's one ghost. It is Jeezy's being entertained. But this would track as to why she's more interested or she used to be more interested in everyone but you. She's being overwhelmed with people that you can't see trying to get her attention all day.
Apparently it's not Shorty's fault. So I said, give me some more. Because I'm going to be really weird with you.
Oh, we get details?
Because I've been sleeping and woke up in this place and definitely seen people standing at my door.
Oh, for real?
I don't know what to tell you.
But feel it on your skin type stuff?
Listen, I know I'm talking to a bunch of bros. So do what you will with this information. I admitted I went and hung out with a horse, okay? So you can go ahead and shide me, ridicule me. I don't really care. Frankly, I just don't. So believe me when I tell you, there were people standing at my door. Now, when it's just me, I look over, I see the ghosts, I go back to bed. What are you going to do? Feed them? Literally. What, you want some milk and cookies? No. You camp out, you stare at me. It's disconcerting, but I'm going to get some Z's. I got a big day tomorrow. I don't really have time for this nonsense. But the dog has issues. So I met with homie today. Tomorrow we have a session. We are clearing out the dead people.
He comes to your place to check it out in person.
FaceTime, homie.
Oh, does he want to talk to Jeezy, or he just wants to talk to the ghosts?
I'll bring Shorty. I'll pick her up. She's 10 pounds.
I need. Is this guy charged by the hour?
Don't even know what he charges.
You don't care.
I just need homie. She's sitting right there on guard right now, right in front of me. Just need her to feel better. Wow. That's it. All right. That's my story. Yeah.
I cannot wait to hear how this goes.
Are you a ghost hunter? Apparently, I got a whole elementary school of decapitated kids underneath my bathtub.
Yeah, I need to know the backstory of what that area of the land used to be. I mean, we know our guy James Polk definitely had some people killed in that general vicinity.
Yeah, James Polk said, "You like California?" To the Spanish people, don't get used to it.
Yeah. Mexico shot first, we promise.
I'm sure they did, the Mexican-American War. All right, so we are underway in Winnipeg. Zippy, 17-11 to play. I mentioned Dustin Dort hit a 3 to go into the break. They were down. The Nuggets were down big and had a really strong final 2 minutes to close it to 58-58. Dort hits the three-pointer, so 61-58 at the break. The Thunder are up.
Second half, Thunder's laying 1.5, minus 140 on the money line. 113.5 is your total. Juiced a little bit towards the over, so we're expecting some points here.
All right, you want to close some tabs before we get out of here?
Yeah, I got some stuff to run by you. You mentioned Ernest Hemingway. I just got curious because he said he would get drunk and start writing. We were talking to Josh Applebaum about his book. Did you know what his drink of choice was?
Pray tell.
It's a daiquiri. A daiquiri is his, I don't know how to say it properly for some reason.
Maybe you could go with daiquiri, but if you want to go with daiquiri, I'll play your game.
That is correct. He apparently, his version of it was white rum, maraschino liquor, lime juice, and grapefruit juice, often with a lime wheel. But that was his go-to. I don't know why that fascinates me. That's
kind of trifling. A lot of sugar, dude. If you're a hardcore alky, just drink the liquor, brother.
That's what I'm saying.
A movable feast, by the way. A movable feast is my favorite Hemingway book.
Okay.
For those keeping score at home.
That's what I was going to ask. If I was going to read one Hemingway book, which I've read none of them, it would be that one, A Movable Feast.
I like A Movable Feast.
Okay. I like it. I'm in. Hey, I got to read some fiction. I don't read any fiction.
All right. Well, we're talking Ghost. We're talking Hemingway. We are closing strong. What else you got?
Let's see. Yesterday on the show, Alex Noops Christensen was on. He used a word that I'd never heard you use or any other person use, and I thought he was describing me. The word was homogeneous.
You never heard that word before. And yeah, are you alluding to the fact that you're mostly gay?
Yeah, I thought he was targeting me.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Jacob, you freak, thank you. Ryan Smith, thank you. To the guests, can't remember the names, but I swear to God, you were all great. We'll see you tomorrow. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.